Don't worry about it.
Okay, hello, we're back. That was a
We
brief
made it.
introduction. So that was a fakie. That was like a test
We
for
have
everybody.
that's our first short on the channel.
Yeah. No,
Unfollow me. Yeah,
Ashley, thank
thank
you.
you.
Ashley America, I like that. It's like Captain America, but Ashley instead. Let's put that over here. All right. So now that the sound is working, that is pretty necessary for a podcast review channel or episode where we're listening to audio for the audio to work. So now that that's been taken care of, we're all good. So welcome back, everybody. The lizard is probably dead somewhere outside. That was the update, and now we're gonna listen to the TikTok, so we all know what we're here for once again. All right, here we go.
Okay, yesterday I was doing a live stream and I mentioned that there's this sweet woman who comes to my house twice a week and cleans. She's my house cleaner. She cleans the toilets. Someone commented and said, "You are privileged AF." And I was like, "You're right. I'm super freaking privileged, but also I worked my ass off to have the money to have someone come twice a week and clean my toilets." And I told her that, and then she said, "Well, you're unrelatable." What is it about me that made you think I want to be relatable? No, sis, literally everything I do in my life is to live a life that most people can't relate to. Most people won't work this hard. Most people won't get up at 4 a.m. Most people won't fail publicly again and again just to reach the top of the mountain. Literally every woman I admire in history was unrelatable. If my life is relatable to most people, I'm doing it wrong.
I'll tell
Alrighty.
you, now that I have this like vomiting sensation, this this
What would
short
you?
video from Rachel does not help. Like
Yeah,
it's just like
it's
it's like
making me
making my
ill.
sensation, yeah, it's making it worse.
Oh yeah. Well, I just like to play. I know it's like overplayed. Everyone's seen it, but I think it's good to be reminded of exactly what she says because she goes into some specifics in what she says, not as much as I would like. The hosts don't go into any specifics about what she said. They're like, "Oh, yeah, everyone knows what we're talking about." It's like, "No, we don't." Rachel doesn't even know what she's talking about. She's like, "I said something. I did whatever. I said something about this." It's like she doesn't even know what she said. So I think it's
Yeah.
important to play that so we all have context as to what we're actually discussing here.
Well, I
Um,
don't think that she would have given them the TikTok or they would have pulled it because, like, obviously they were there to, I don't know, promote her again. So I don't think
yeah,
TikTok does her any favors.
they were
And
there to give her a safe space.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And the live that she discusses, oh, thank you, Mama MD,
Thank you.
um, is still on her Instagram. And I found that somebody here, or, well, maybe not here live, but someone commented and said, "You are privileged." No, someone commented and said, and sent me the link of her going live talking about all this. We watched it a little bit in the last part one through B. Haney's video, but now we have the raw, the full thing. So we'll post that in the description, and maybe we'll bring it up too if the podcast goes there again, where she's talking about why it happened and how the live stream went down and all that. Because the live stream is still on her Instagram, which I find is shocking and crazy that she would leave that up, but
Yeah,
it's still
yeah.
there.
So yeah, last time what we came to the conclusion of, based on only how, well, only part of it, was that there didn't seem to be any connection between any depression person and Rachel going off about being unrelatable. So there was that. And now Kayla is saying that she essentially saw the confirmation of that. And that's nice because
Yeah.
we're not just speaking out of our ass like Rach here.
So there was a woman who commented, and maybe let me pull this up. Hold on, let me get to the Instagram. So there was a woman who commented and said that she had depression and she was asking for a suggestion. And I think Rachel's answer was semi okay. Like she said, who cares about the dishes? If you're, focus on your health, that's all that matters. And she goes on and on about that. And then she says, you know, or be like me and get a house cleaner if you can afford it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. But that was the whole thing. That's all she said to that woman. And then she moved on. She answered like 2 other questions. And then it was like, then someone said later, because she talked about, someone else said, oh, you've inspired me to get a house cleaner. And then she was saying like, oh, yeah, I mean, I love my house cleaner. She cleans my toilets. I don't want to spend time cleaning my toilets. Go for it, Cam. Cam will be back very shortly. She's not feeling good today. Hopefully she's okay. This is a rough Sunday, everybody. This is our punishment for not going to Mass today and doing a live stream about Rachel Hollis instead. So thoughts and prayers to Cam as she's possibly being ill. But in the meantime, while Cam comes back, let's watch a little bit because I found it. This is live right now on her own Instagram. So.
Changing meds, starting therapy.
Okay, here's the part. So, okay, 13. This is the woman who has depression, allegedly, that's commenting. At 13 minutes in, okay?
I see myself with my girlfriends and like we're having this amazing experience or I'm crying to them or whatever. Like I see myself in the scenario and then I feel the gratitude. I don't just think the gratitude, I feel it. And that brings everything down to here. So struggling with depression, changing meds, starting therapy, but still struggling with getting out of bed in the morning and getting the, okay. Can I, you said, and struggling to get the cleaning done. What matters most is you taking care of you. Changing medication is so hard. So hard. It's throwing everything off inside of you, and it is a really important step in the work that you're trying to do, but I want you to hear me say it is work. I'm not going to cuss because I know I'm on live, but F the dishes. Screw the dishes. Screw the laundry. Who freaking cares? Who cares? The house is going to be dirty for a minute. What matters is that you are taking care of you. And if you don't feel like you have it in you today to do the dishes, light them on fire. Get some paper plates. Like, who cares? I feel like we as women especially have this like checklist of all the things that we need to do in order to be good, in order to get the job, in order to do it right. And when you ask women to make a list of their priorities, if most women will not even put themselves on the list, like it doesn't even occur to them. They'll be like, my marriage, my kids, my this, my that, my job, da-da-da-da. And that's like, well, where are you? And they're like, oh, great. And then they add their name, but their name is literally the last thing on the list. Self-care.
Thanks, Janie. I love that name, Janie, and the spelling. Thank you.
Is not.
Cam's coming back. She's texted me. She says she's on her way back. Whew, okay. Everyone's thoughts and prayers worked. Yeah, I hate that feeling. Sometimes you just feel nauseous out of nowhere. It sucks. But she's coming back. But in the meantime, we're going to keep watching this. So this is her answering the question. So far, honestly, I don't hear any super big red flags. This is a fairly, in my opinion, decent answer, good response. I don't think she's qualified to give someone with depression advice. But other than that, I mean, she's giving fairly good life advice.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome back. I'll mute her for 1 second. Okay.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Are you okay?
Yes, I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay, good.
I just had to. I just had one of these. Never mind. I'm having a day.
Okay. I said it's because we didn't go to church, so it's our punishment.
Obviously.
Your punishment. Okay, so we were watching a little bit. We're just in she's wrapping up her response to the woman with depression. So we were just watching that clip for now.
Yeah.
Not something for Sunday afternoon. Self-care is not a bubble bath and a face mask when you're feeling down. Self-care is, can you take care of yourself every single day? And that might mean that the house is dirty. Oh well. Oh well. Because you are not going to be able to serve anyone else. You are not going to be able to have anything else you want if you're not feeling okay. And sometimes, especially when we're dealing with depression, anxiety, any of that emotional stuff, and you're trying to do therapy, and be graceful. Be graceful with yourself. Let the dishes sit. They're fine.
Okay, so that was her complete interaction from what I've seen, unless she pops up later at the end, which I didn't fully watch to the end. But that's the time where she addresses the depression woman. No one popped up in the comments thus far, well, that she could even see at this point. And that was her full response. And again, I think the response that she gave was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
And
not bad.
and I do stand by that, because I feel like, and she's also guilty of not in this situation but in general, of like pushing the whole like, this is how you should do your morning routine and your whatever routine. And I've seen this in so many like personal development YouTuber channels and stuff like that, and I always felt like, yeah, that's not quite like realistic in the first place. Like, nobody has time to do a morning routine before going to work. That's one. And second, that's not what guarantees that you're like self-loving yourself. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always felt like that. And I appreciate that she's not in this moment pushing like, oh, you should have, the perfect juice, because she does push the freaking disgusting green juice. And I mean, I don't know if her green juice is disgusting, but I know that Savvy from Savvy Writes Books is like a friend of the channel.
Yep.
And a friend of ours. Basically, she has done a video on YouTube in which she tried the green juice, and it was Savvy's was disgusting. Maybe Rachel's was not. I don't know.
Rachel says it's disgusting. She's always, all the time, says,
yeah?
I hate it. It's gross, but I drink it anyways. Like, that's her whole shtick about, well, I do it because it's good for me, not because I like it. It's like, ugh, I don't know if I like that advice, but yeah. Apparently hers is gross too. So that was, okay, that was the full clip about Depression Woman that I could see. And then she goes on to answer something else. And then she goes on to bring up, someone else says, well, you've inspired me to hire a house cleaner. Then she goes into a monologue about that, how she doesn't like she doesn't want to clean her toilets because then she has more time to record podcasts. And then someone calls her unrelatable. And then she goes off. Should we play this? Should we just play it? Here, let's see.
What's been your biggest change in 2020, 2021 that you never planned to have to make, but now don't want to ever lose focus on? Thank you. I love this question. I never want to forget like what it felt like to slow down and come back to the person that I want to be. I think like so many of us at the beginning of 2020, I was running, I was hustling the work, like I was traveling, all the things. And it was a forced slow down, and it was a forced stop, and it was a forced like come back to self. And that was painful. It is hard to sit with yourself, and it is hard to do the work, and it is hard to not want to numb out, to not want to drink too much or eat too much or, binge watch a Netflix show or do anything that you can do to not have to think about how uncomfortable you are. But I was talking to, for my birthday, I got a reading from like I don't know if it's like a medium or I don't know what it is. But she said this line that I love and I keep coming back to. She said, just because something is uncomfortable doesn't mean it's dangerous. Just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean you're in danger. And I have thought of that so many times, of like our willingness to sit with ourselves and sit with our stuff and do the work and do the therapy and journal and cry and like hold those feelings. And I never want to forget how essential it is to my being, and I think to yours as well, to slow down and be with yourself. I missed you guys too. Everyone's saying you missed me. I appreciate it. I miss you too. You convinced me to hire a house cleaner. Yes, hire a house. The only reason to not have a house cleaner is because you can't afford it yet. And notice I said yet. But if you can afford a house cleaner and you don't have a house cleaner, what are you doing? Unless you like it. Do you like scrubbing your toilet? I don't like scrubbing my toilet. Look, I want to do the things that only I can do. This is the key to success. Because I know y'all follow me. I've got dreamers, I've got entrepreneurs. I know who's in my community. You want to know how you get ahead? You want to know how you can be the most productive and the most effective? Do the things that only you can do. Can someone, could I do the dishes? Yes. Can I scrub the toilet? Absolutely. Can someone else also, so that I could spend my time doing this live stream, writing a book, recording a podcast, which is the stuff that only I can do? Yes. So that's what we do. My girl comes twice a week, and she is the most delightful human ever. We love her, and she, makes sure that mold doesn't grow on the dishes in the sink. Thank you. Thank you, Sherry. We appreciate you. Let's see. Had to start a group to support.
Okay, so that was the second acknowledgement of the cleaning lady. That is, and now I don't think she could talk herself out of that. If the podcast hosts on Skinny Confidential actually did any sort of research or had any sort of, critical skills, at least on this podcast, those two things that she just said were separated. There was no, it wasn't like it, there was a whole question in between about, whatever. So that's a full couple minutes in between the two. Okay, and then she's talking about this. And now, again, she's going to read a mean comment after this. So they're three separate things, and she's combining them all to explain why she did what she did. And she made the whole TikTok. But she uses the same verbiage, so you can't, I don't think she can argue.
My girl comes twice a week. Yeah, it's the same, patronizing and belittling. Do you like scrubbing toilets? I don't. Seriously, I don't understand, why does she feel the need to talk about this publicly?
I think it brings up a question that, I've had in this self-development space. It's like that woman that's coming, Sherry, it's her name, she said her name, comes to, clean the house twice a week for Rachel. She's also, if not an entrepreneur, maybe she owns a business, but even not, she's still working, she's making money, she's not sitting at home doing nothing, whatever. But Rachel doesn't see that as equally as aspirational, like a woman working hard, coming to clean this giant, probably house in Austin. No, you're better off dreaming about becoming a podcast host. That's where I get disconnected as to what a aspirational life looks like. To Rachel, it's like, I'll write a book, do a podcast. But in the grand scheme of the world, what's more important is probably Sherry's job, honestly.
Yeah, and this actually reminds me of just how obvious it became. I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, when all of the people got fired and when everything just essentially stopped, and then suddenly all the people who had jobs in in supermarkets and stuff like that, and nurses, and all the people who had jobs that were previously kind of looked down upon suddenly became essential workers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you
It
call
is
them
majority.
if this happened.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if you guys had that in the States, but in the UK there was so much rhetoric about essential workers and we appreciate you and stuff like that. And that's the thing, they are essential workers, and it's not, I don't understand why it's deemed so below it. It's not below, it's the things that need to get done, and everyone, it's not below, it's just kind of I don't know how to explain it other than, you need, for example, if you need a bread factory, I know bread is boring, but bread is essential, you know what I mean? You need it.
But it's,
so
they shame you, these self-help people. That's the whole point. If you are comfortable working at a factory or working as a house cleaner, they can't sell you more stuff. They can't sell you courses. They can't sell you conferences, because if you don't desire to do something more aspirational, more amazing, more, envy worthy, more jealous inducing in your life, then they can't continue to sell you stuff to try to help you get there. So this woman, Sherry...
Yeah, because they're selling you a dream.
Yeah.
They're selling you...
a hypothetical possibility. Yeah, exactly. That may happens once in a while. Out of every million women that want to be Rachel Hollis, there's only one. And it's because she's had a lot of help along the way that she doesn't admit to. So, yeah, I think it
Yeah.
brings up even bigger conversation about why, cleaning the toilets is below Rachel because she can have a podcast. It's like, is that, yeah, you can make more money via the podcast, but I don't know. I think it's a problem with society that we value like the thing that makes more money over the thing that needs to get done. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too
I
in
don't
the weeds, but
even know, like, yeah, probably we do as a society value it more, but I feel like not as little as the self-helpers. Like the self-helpers tend to be just pretty much anything. A 9 to 5 is bad. Anything is bad as long as just the only thing that is good is what they're selling you,
yeah.
essentially. Because they have even made 9 to 5 seem so bad, but like I don't get that, because like what is wrong with people having a job that pays them money, a job that makes
Health
them get up and
insurance.
go somewhere in the morning, and like what else are you meant to do? Just like what,
Yeah.
like sit around and do nothing, and until a self-help guru discovers you, and suddenly you're just like taken under his wing, and $20,000 later you're just good to go.
Yeah, like oh, somehow society is better off if you're selling Amazon shoes. Like if you're selling, if you go to, I don't know, I hear all these people like, okay, go to Ross or go to the Goodwill and buy like these old things and then like sell them on eBay. Like, is that really what we should all be doing? Like, that's the dream? Like, who is going to be doing these essential tasks? If everyone is trying to be the next, entrepreneur, the arbitrage this and life coach that, it's like, why is that the dream? I mean, I know why that's the dream because that's how they sell it. But like, when are we gonna start to say like, no, that is not the aspect? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's what we're doing, and that's what I've been doing, and you've been doing before we even started this channel. And I think that's also that one of the biggest issues that I have with that the sale of this made up dream that isn't even people's dream. It's not our dream. It's something they're making it to be our dream. So they're just constantly saying that you're unhappy, you're miserable. It's like you're not really, but like you're reading these books and they're coming up with these like stories of rags to riches and stuff like that, and then they make you feel
bad.
unhappy. And then when you feel unhappy, suddenly they start telling you that you can also do it if you just follow them and go get their courses and stuff like that. So but one of the biggest problems I have with it is that I feel like the real entrepreneurs, the real stuff that is out there will be things like this. It will be things that are essential. Like the most businesses are like just like if you can find like a business, if you're capable, because that's not easy, but if you're capable of getting a business off the ground doing something essential, you're like set. Like I don't know how much, do you know what I mean? I feel like it's such a smart move to do something that everyone needs.
Yeah.
Like nobody, like yeah, podcast, and we have a podcast too, but like it's great, but it's entertainment. It's not essential. If anything happens, like we're not going to be saved by whatever government, because they don't care about these jobs. Like
Yeah.
they will care about the essential jobs, but not really like about what Rachel does. Like that's the first to go, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of these people, they end up writing a book about justifying what life path they took and then trying to sell that as inspiration. I read Everything is Figureoutable by Marie Forleo, and the whole time I was like, is this what I should be doing? Or is this her trying to justify, like, oh, I didn't get lucky. Look at all the things I did to get here. Same thing with Rachel. Like, look, I'm successful now. I'm coming out with this book to prove that I have gone through something, that I didn't just get this handed to me. It's like people like this, I think, find success and then they try to like explain it like, oh, well, see, it wasn't just because I was lucky and had a husband that was a, millionaire. It was because of my hard work and my, tenacity, whatever. It has nothing to, like, none of the advice is really applicable except like keep trying. It's like, well, what's the alternative? The only reason you could keep trying is because you had money there to support you while you kept trying. And that is the
Yeah.
differentiating factor of all of this. It's not that
And
I think.
we
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
sorry, go on. No, go on.
I was going to say, the big factor is, and I think it's, infantilizing a little bit, especially to women, as if women don't have dreams because we're so stupid that we don't realize we can achieve more. It's like, I think we all realize we can achieve more, but until you're in a situation where you can actually take a risk and not be like homeless after it, that's the difference. It's not that people don't realize they can do more. It's that not everyone's capable of going to that next level just because of not everyone has the same safety net to fall if they fail.
Yeah, and this is also really important because both of them, both Marie Forleo and Rachel, have gone into debt. Marie Forleo has talked about how she was like $20,000 or something like that into debt, and now you pointed out last time that, or the time before, that Rachel has said to Tony Robbins that she was like 40 something thousand dollars in debt because she was trying to make a conference and stuff like that. Not everyone has the capacity to take a loan that big. Not everyone has, and even if, let's say I had the capacity to take a loan, I would not. Like, I think that's a bad idea, like, unless, I mean, obviously for them, the circumstances were such that, she was famous based on the book and whatever. So it was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to get a return on investment. But if I took that loan and started a conference, I'm going to get no return on investment at all. So there is, but they don't want to talk about that because then I'm not going to buy the stuff she's selling. Because why would I buy it when if she tells me, well, you're not famous enough to do the dream or whatever, then I'm gonna be like, well, okay, no, thank you to your course.
Yeah, exactly. And these people are portraying themselves as inspirational, but in reality, they're salespeople. And that's the thing that, because they offer so many free things, free advice, free whatever, all that is the top of the funnel. And a funnel is a sales funnel, which gets you down. And she talks about that. She brought that up in the video that we reviewed when they were giving their like annual work conference, whatever. Her and Dave were giving updates on the company back in 2019. And she said, like, every time I go on Quibi, people are going to come to my website and they're going to start to buy a journal because they want to be a part of the community. So it's all calculated. All of this stuff is not like these people just on the kindness of their heart wanting to share their story. They're trying to make money, monetize the story to then sell you whatever crap they have to sell you. And there has to be some sort of longing within you to continue to try to buy stuff. Anyways, that's a whole long rant.
And it's funny because, yeah, but it's funny because, like, she's not even hiding it. She's like, I have a mogul tattoo. It's like, you're not even pretending like you're doing this for people. Like, you're tattooing money on yourself. Like, I don't know what. It's just so shameless to me. Like, and she's constantly showing off that tattoo. Like, oh my god, look at me. Like, you're meant to be like, wow, Rachel, that's so amazing. But if somebody showed me, if one of my friends showed me a tattoo that said mogul, I would be like, wow, okay, this is so weird. Like,
self-proclaimed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very weird. And I think and she's going to talk about that in a little bit in the podcast that we're going to, again, we'll promise, we'll get to it, I promise. But she's going to talk about how her fans created an image for her that she had to live up to. And maybe that's relatable mom, maybe. And she truly sees herself as Oprah and unrelatable and mogul. But what sells is relatable Rachel. She blames that, oh, that's not me. What really is me is like this, really entrepreneurial person. But that's in her words. In her actions, she had a company, she had 60 people, which is impressive. It lasted, 6 months? And now she's got like 2 people. That's failed entrepreneur, in my opinion. If there's no sustainability, exactly. You effed up, girl.
And they say that most companies fail within the first 5 years. Well, Rachel's company, obviously, one of them.
On brand.
still was very successful when it was like alive. Oh, sorry, I got distracted, but I saw this comment about Rachel projecting and saying, because she did say, and I listened to that and I was like, that's not. She said like it's hard to sit with yourself when you're drinking too much, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not for me. It's not hard to sit with myself, and I think she had. This is when I was seeing that, and thank you for the comment. When I was seeing that, I was like, why is it hard to sit with yourself? One, and second, I didn't realize I'm showing my fingers.
That's okay.
and and second, basically, uh, what was it gonna say? So basically, why are you teaching people how to live their lives when you're incapable of sitting with yourself, and you have to get drunk, and you have to constantly be hustling and constantly be busy because you cannot sit with your own thoughts?
Yeah.
If you in 2020 are in that situation, why are you having conferences explaining to people how they should live their life?
Yeah. I mean, this is
Why are you
2021 too. This is even more recent. So this is like
But she was saying that in 2020 is
okay.
when she was hustling and
Gotcha.
she was like pushing so hard. And I guess she's seeing herself in this video as past that.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
like, why was she, so you're by hustling for Rachel, that means you're going on stage and telling people what to do with their lives. That's
Yeah.
what hustling is for Rachel. So you cannot sit with your own thoughts, and you're going on stage and telling me that how I'm living my life is not good.
Well, Rachel's very much, even with the racial part that we'll talk about too in this half of the podcast, the whole part of the racial issue with this, she's very much do as I say, not as I do. In one breath, she'll say, you know, this is offensive to black women, but I'm really close. My best friend's black, so I'm okay. I can do it. And it's like so hypocritical. So
I don't know how her best friend feels about that, but that's awful to say.
We'll never know. But one question that Rachel has that she really needs answers on.
What happened to dinosaurs?
I sent you those snippets, by the way, via email because I couldn't do it via Instagram for some reason. So
okay,
we have you guys have requested the day. Which one is it? Like the one where
we're talking about peas? No,
yeah,
we're talking about
one.
buying my book.
Yeah, people have requested it last time, so I sent it. I found it and I sent it to Kayla. And somebody also requested Kayla just
screaming,
afraid of the lizard. So I also found that and I sent it to her. So we should probably have them next time.
Yes.
But I just wanted to say, if you have more requests, let me know because I can make it happen.
Thank you. We're a collective team here. Okay, so before we get to the podcast, we're almost there. I just want to play the part where she gets all freaked out because it's funny because she starts to you can tell physically, she's kind of like in her element thus far, giving her advice or whatever. But I think she sees that negative comment and she then changes pretty drastically. So I want to just play that and then we'll go to the podcast.
Support mindset and move energy for peace of mind. We've been so uncomfortable. It's real. But just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean that you are in danger. And then Nick just posted to sign up for our free
Come on, Rachel, Instagram.
Let's see. Here we go. I want to read. Okay, ask questions. I love all these comments. Let's see. How do you juggle the bajillion things and still take care of yourself? Because taking care of myself is my number one priority. If y'all didn't see it, I don't know, a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago, I wrote a post on the word selfish and how often I think the word selfish is used to manipulate and control women.
It's coming up, I promise. We don't have to hear this whole part.
That without another person involved. Does that make sense? Either someone is calling you selfish or you feel selfish because there's someone else involved and you're like, oh, I shouldn't take this time to go on my run. I shouldn't take this time to go to the gym. How dare I want to go get a massage? How dare I want to take a nap because that's selfish, right? So I'm going to comment on this. I usually don't see these, but I'm going to do it. I assume that you're saying privilege AF about having a housekeeper. Hell yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And I'm super aware of that.
You
I
can
grew up
so-
with no money.
I know.
And I clean my house forever. And it is a privilege to have someone who can come in and do that. But I also worked my ass off to get to the place where I could afford that in my life. And I chose that really early on. Like, I will sacrifice other things in my life to have help with that. It is a privilege. But when you add the words,
Oh, come on.
I grew up.
I don't know why Instagram sucks. I mean, I know why, but
I can't believe just how like she switched like
Right?
I don't know. Some people have said that you can tell in the TikTok when she switches like that, and she's like suddenly. I guess
Pissed.
people have called it the mask slip, and I felt like it was quite impressive here too. Just, I mean, I guess we all change, you know, if we're talking about something that is upsetting
Heating
or
you
whatever.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but it's just yeah, and she keeps saying that, like, Rachel, that's the point of being privileged. Like you have privilege.
I wish you would continue the sentence and go, I chose to get married to a douchebag at 18 so I would have the financial security to be able to achieve my dreams.
Yeah.
Now we're divorced and that was a sacrifice I made, but, you know, I got here. That would be like horrible, probably, you know, kind of like concerning, but honest, you know, that's the sacrifice. I chose money, security over finding someone I actually love. You know,
Yeah.
that is probably what happened, perhaps. But you know, she says like I sacrificed things. Like what did you sacrifice? Like what did you actually do to like?
I love life.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's confusing. She seemed to have done everything she wanted to do. So what did you actually give up to have money? I
So
don't
you
know.
think this is a bit of a confession? Like she used Dave.
Yeah, kind of. I think so. She doesn't finish the thought, but that's what the underlying answer is always, I think.
Wow. Yeah, but that would make sense because like she just said, I chose this a long time ago.
Yeah, when she was 18 or 19.
Yeah. When she met Dave, she chose
The thing
it.
too is like she's like I cleaned forever. You're like 39. That's not forever. You're still
Yeah.
young. The fact that
I'm
in your
31,
30s
so-
you've yeah, exactly. Like if I got a house cleaner today, I wouldn't be like I cleaned my whole life and I just like sacrificed. Like what if you're 75 and you're saying like I cleaned my whole life. I finally got a housekeeper at 75. Okay, I could agree. But you're so young. And she said like, "Oh, I was poor." But she then in another podcast she says like, "Oh, I was financially stable by 21." It's like that's better than 99% of people I think in the world. that are
That's
financially
Dave who was though.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
And then
really.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so let's finish the
But the
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
but the definition of privilege is what bothers me here because that's she keeps saying this. I am privileged, yeah. Oh my God! But I worked so hard. But that's the point. You're missing the point because it's not about work. There's so many people who work really hard, but they do not have the privilege. So the work doesn't end up paying them millions like it ended up paying Rachel millions. Like
Yeah.
that's she constantly because she did it here and she did it in the TikTok. Like she constantly thinks that it's the waking up at 4 a.m. to work out that made her rich. No, that made you hot.
Yeah.
That's different.
It made you lose weight and it gave you confidence to sell whatever. But at the core of this, all of this is stability financially. That
Yeah.
is what happened. That is the biggest factor in any person who has success. Do they have financial stability to be able to take risks in business? Point blank.
Yeah.
No further questions needed. You know, that's it. Okay, so let's finish this. Oh, come on. Freaking Instagram. Maybe we won't finish. Maybe we'll never know what she says. No, okay. What is it? 21:57? Okay. Refresh again. I really hate Instagram. The video quality on here just sucks.
Yeah.
No money. And I clean my house forever. And it is a privilege to have someone who can come in and do that. But I also worked my ass off to get to the place where I could afford that in my life. And I chose that really early on. Like I will sacrifice other things in my life to have help with that. It is a privilege. But when you add the words,
What is it? Just stops? Okay, sorry.
Maybe that was her thing. Maybe it was at her
Maybe.
end.
I have a recording, so let's see. Let me bring that up real quick. I think it's important because apparently she gets like even angrier. So I want to see it through because we haven't played that part yet on here. 21:56. Oh shit. Maybe it is hers because I only got to 19 on my recording. Damn it. Okay, I'll try one more time and then we'll just have to imagine it after that. Okay. Refresh, 21:57.
Chose that really early on. Like, I will sacrifice other things in my life to have help with that. It is a privilege, but when you add the words,
Okay, well.
someone who have a thing that they want, their reaction is like, screw you. Because if you have that thing, it's a reminder that I don't. And the way I tend to think is if someone has something, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I can't wait for the day when someone will do that for me. Right? It's pausing. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right?
It was her. Okay.
You can choose, look, you get to control the mindset that you have about anything in life. You get to control your mindset. So you
Yeah,
can see
pause.
something and see it as an example.
Because that she missed the point again. I'm sorry. I know we're not commenting. We're never meant to comment in the podcast. But like she missed the point again because she's saying like when people see someone have the thing, they are upset or jealous or whatever. And she is not because she's just like, I can't wait. But the reason
Sure.
people are frustrated is because they're trying very hard and they just can't seem to find a way. And that's why the frustration builds up. And it's not really, I think for Rachel, it's like, oh, I can't wait to do that because my husband is paid so much. I can just like, I didn't know I want this, and now I do. And next month I will probably be doing it because it's that easy when you have the money, you know. But most people just like want to and try to, and then they fail because of the lack of privilege, because of systemic issues, whatever. So then the only thing that you're left with in when you try again and again is that it's just frustration. And I've experienced that frustration with in Scotland with like all sorts of jobs because I didn't have like the privilege of being Scottish, and I failed a number of times, and I did succeed a number of times too, but like the frustration does build. And I think she missed it completely. She doesn't understand because she's probably not been in that situation.
Oh, she's been, I mean, her childhood's one thing, but as an adult, she's lived a fairly stable life, a good life, a life of someone of a wife of an executive. So, I mean, what does she actually know about like being an adult and like paying bills and being worried? Like she didn't have that. She was 19 when they got married. So even if they both made like, 30 grand a year, which I'm sure he made more than that because he was also much farther along in his career. He was 28, I think, 27 when they got married. So he was probably making more of like a median salary as opposed to starting out. But bless you. But I feel like she just doesn't understand. Like she has a rich woman perspective. Maybe it's not her fault, but then she's trying to speak to all these women who are of all different economical statuses as if she knows what the struggle is. It's like you just don't.
Yeah.
Okay, let's finish it up. She's almost done.
Example of what you do not have in your life, you can look at it and see scarcity, or you can be like, damn, I want to work to the place where I get to have that thing too. Or you could be like, that's never going to be something I aspire to spend money on. Do you, girl? But I'm so confused by this culture that we have created of like, oh, someone has something, let me crap all over it. Let me attack that thing. Because that thing makes me feel lack. You are in control of your mindset. So, okay, not relatable to you. Cool. Great. Keep doing you. I'm going to send you so much love and so much light and so much good energy today because I feel like you need it. So, have a good one.
I didn't see that part before. I'm
That
going to
was
send you so much.
patronizing.
That's what she's saying. I'm going to send you so much love and light.
I have so much light and you don't.
You need it, bitch.
You need it.
That's what she's saying. Damn,
Lovely.
that was worse kind of than I was.
All right.
And then she goes on. So we'll put the link in the description after this video is done. This live stream's done. And you can watch the whole thing in its glory yourself at home. In the
If
comfort.
you guys can stomach it, because I can't.
Yeah. But that was it. That's what we're talking about. So I didn't see her defending women with depression or that woman. No one was dogpiling that I could see on that woman that Rachel was like white knighting, you know, to do whatever. Like, I just think that she got pissed because she is insecure, because she does have a lot of privilege. She doesn't like to admit that. Someone called her out on it. She happened to see it. And then she turned it into a thing where she's like, no, this is wrong. Everyone should support me. She got angry about it. She felt an emotion about it. She's like, I'm going to make a TikTok about this. Lovely. This will be great. Everyone will love me again and think this is amazing. This is boss babe mentality. But she didn't realize that the tides had changed a lot. This is 2021. Yeah. People were feeling a lot different than they were in 2019, with Black Lives Matter movement happening, with, you know, the pandemic happening, with people getting laid off, with essential workers, the election had happened. Like, oh my God, like so much stuff was happening, at least in the United States. And it's like people were feeling differently. So she didn't catch up to, oh, I can't be privileged AF right now, and people are going to support me for it. Yeah. Okay. So now we will finish the second half of the podcast, and we're going to go a little fast. We're not going to go as fast as last time, because I like to hear it, like, because the guy talks a little fast too, so I don't want it to get cut off. So here it goes. We're back to it.
Blunt and honest question. Do you feel like the punishment fit the crime? Meaning, like, everyone's aware of the comment and what you did and what you said and all that, but do you feel the way you got dragged was appropriate?
I feel like cancel culture today is, if cancel culture was actually about caring whether or not the person was learning from their mistakes, it would be one thing, but it's not. It's about who can make the comment that gets the most likes, or who can say the thing that's the biggest singer. So that sort of circus that happened was crazy and felt crazy to be inside of for me. But I'm not
inside of. She doesn't answer the question, basically. She says, like, cancel culture to me, it's like, he didn't ask you, what do you feel about cancel culture? He asked you, do you think that the punishment fit the crime? I said yes. And you said no, right, Cam?
You know, I realized more recently that I hate it when people do that. When you're trying to have a conversation with someone. And that's why Rachel will never have a conversation with me. but also I hate it when. But also, yeah, I just hate it when you're trying to get to a point, and then you're approaching the point, and somebody switches the narrative in a different direction, and you've because it feels like you're going in circles and you're going crazy. It's gaslighting, but obviously in Matthew's case, he doesn't care. But if she was on someone on a channel like ours, we would probably be pushing, and she would keep like going in circles,
pivoting. Yeah, it's like it's a tactic. It's a media tactic, and they teach this like in media training, because media training is a whole industry for people who have to answer for something. Like, I'm trying to think of an example where it was like really badly used, but basically the training is like, no matter what they ask you, these are the points that you bring up. So if they ask you about like, do you feel like you got what you deserved, you bring up cancel culture immediately. And that's like part of like the practice. They'll go through a pretend interview. They'll do pretend questions to see how, you know, they should respond. And it's frustrating because the question was not what she answered, was not the question. It was like, do you think you got what you deserved? Well, cancel culture, it was very difficult for me to go through that. That's not an answer. But because of the limitations of the medium, so podcasts, like, are they going to spend the podcast awkwardly saying, hey, you didn't really answer that, especially if they're friends with her? No, they're not going to do that. And she's not going on platforms that will do that. So, you know, they just move on.
And I don't think they have the agenda of really getting to that question. I think the questions are just like, okay, well, what are we going to keep her busy with for an hour? So, you know, I don't think for us, it would be a completely different conversation for that sole reason, because we do like want to get to the answers. Like, I don't think that little Matthew cares about that. I think he's just like, as long as they can chat for an hour, that's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they can proclaim like, well, we asked her the tough questions, and when she didn't
Yeah.
answer, we moved on. Like, okay, great, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Anyways, okay, let's keep going.
Saying this, if it hadn't been as painful as it was, I wouldn't have done the work that I did, because I never in a million years would never think that I, after being on social media since it started, could have gotten on the internet and said something that made my fan base feel like suddenly this wasn't a safe space. I did that, and I have to own it. And yes, so much stress and so many things behind the scenes and all of it that I think kept me from seeing what it was. I get it, but what I never understood ever that saying the names of women. So I had said that, just for anybody who doesn't know, I made this video saying like, I don't want to be relatable. I have someone who cleans my house and I work really hard. And this is what, and I, in the comments or when I wrote about it, I listed women historically who are unrelatable. Like all of these women who had inspired me. I'm a huge history nerd. So I was just naming women who were my heroes. And I never, ever in my life, it never occurred to me that people would say, you're comparing yourself to Frida Kahlo. You're comparing yourself to Harriet Tubman. And again, that's my privilege that it never occurred to me that people would take it that way. But that was the hardest thing for me to wrap my brain around, because in my head, I was paying honor to women that I admire. It never occurred to me that people would say, you're saying that you worked as hard as fill in the blank historical figure.
This is a different.
Okay. Let me bring it up. What do you think about that, Can? Let me bring up the actual caption so we can look at it, because she makes it seem like, first of all, she says she was honoring these women. She said they're relatable AF. I don't think that's quite the like honorable language for Harriet Tubman. I don't know.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking right now. I was thinking, just how can you reduce those women to they're unrelatable like me? Just like, what?
I don't think it's very, I think people, like the fact that she can't understand, which is bullshit, but the fact that she says, I can't even like comprehend how people could have taken it that way is bullshit, because it's like, it could have been taken either way. Maybe she didn't mean it like that, but I think it's very clear how easily it could have been taken the way that she claims it wasn't meant to be taken.
Yeah.
Let me find it. And it was very similar to how she spoke in the live. Okay, here it is. How she said like the love and light thing. It seemed very similar. Like she was like feeling that like love and light to you, bitch. Like it was almost like, because she says, okay, this is what it says. Harriet Tubman, RGB, Marie Curie, Oprah Winfrey, Amelia Earhart. Oh, thank you. Crazy Amaze.
Oh, it popped up in a different spot. I wasn't seeing it. Hi.
I moved up, sorry. Frida Kahlo, Malala Yousafzai, and Wu Zichan. All unrelatable AF. Happy Women's History Month. To me, that's like a fuck you. Happy, exactly whatever. Yeah.
Does she know that these women are unrelatable?
She's a history nerd.
Because I've seen like vlogs with Malala. I actually follow like one of Malala's friends, not even her directly, but V is her name, V Kativu, and she is on YouTube. And she posted like vlogs because they lived together. They were both at uni in Oxford, and then they lived together in London. And they posted stuff, vlogs and stuff like that. And that's how I was like, not that I didn't know about Malala, but like I wasn't aware of how young she was and all that stuff. I don't know that Malala is unrelatable. I think Malala went through something tragic. And she just keeps fighting for her cause. But like as a human being, as a girl, as a woman, why wouldn't she be relatable? She's not like Rachel constantly telling everyone like, I'm so rich, oh my God, I'm a monk. Like she's a normal person. She's just fighting for what she wants to fight for.
Yeah, it seems like almost like a symptom of Malala just living her life and the way she feels fit. She's found success. She's, studied, and therefore she gets to go to a good university. She, fights for women's education in Afghanistan, and because of that, a tragedy happened, but because she survived and she still believes in that belief and that message, she's continued to do so. It's not like she set out when she was 15 and says, I'm gonna change the world, I'm gonna, be a millionaire, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna change the Taliban. It just seems like she has very strong inner compass that guides her to do certain things, and as long as it's in line with what she believes in, she'll do it. Not that she has to prove herself, show up as how she wants to be. She just is she's the person with courage. I don't know.
Yeah, all of these women are courageous and inspiring. And I don't know where she got relatable AF from, because you don't know these women on a personal level. You don't know if they're relatable or not. That's seriously reducing them. That's what it is to me, and it's very insulting to put them down to just relatability, because they're really fighting. They're trying really hard in whatever it is that they're doing, or they tried. Some of them are dead.
Yeah, and I don't know how she says that she can't comprehend that there was a comparison, because in the TikTok, as we saw at the top of this video, was that she said, I don't want to be relatable. Okay, I don't want to be relatable. I do everything in my life to be unrelatable. Okay, here's a list of women who I also find unrelatable. How is that not a comparison? Yeah. I don't understand how and she doesn't explain it. She just says, I can't comprehend how dumb people took this wrong. It's like, you made it very hard for people not to take it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
In my opinion. Anyways, okay.
But I think as people with public platforms, there is a level of responsibility to think about.
Here comes a non-safe space take from Little Matthew.
It never occurred to me that people would say, you're saying that you worked as hard as fill in the blank historical figure.
This is a different scale, but I think as people with public platforms, there is a level of responsibility to think about, at least think about how you say things, which same thing. Lauryn and I go through it all the time. But at the same time, I would push back, and we're all part of this, on the public, and say there's also a responsibility to just be a good human, right? When I look, we had Sophia Franklin on the show. She was part of that Call Her Daddy controversy when that whole show split up. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. And the reason I bring it up is it wasn't a few people attacked her. It was the internet and the world was attacking
100%.
her. Same thing in your situation. And I think about these situations because people could do something wrong, but it's not like you murdered somebody, right? It's not like you hurt a child, right? You said something wrong, and it's not giving you a pass, but I think the public has to be thoughtful about the impact they have on men and women online. These are, certain people can hear things, and luckily you're a strong person, doesn't happen. People can take those messages the wrong way and go and really harm themselves or get on a spiral and ruin their life and ruin their children's life and their family. And I think about that stuff all the time, because you may think you're doing something noble by going and attacking a public person, but if it gets so visceral to the point where it's the world attacking that person, you have to think about the ramifications. I don't
Okay, what do you think?
Has he been canceled, or how does he know?
I don't know. I don't know enough about them.
I'm assuming
problematic, but I don't know that.
Yeah, I'm assuming they probably have said things that have come back to bite them in the ass. I can see that, very clearly see that happening. But he's talking as if this is him being relating too hard a little. It's maybe you shouldn't relate that hard to Rachel. She's literally been canceled. Yeah, maybe don't try too hard to be like her right now.
Yeah, don't be relatable unlike Rachel. The thing I heard with that is the straw man argument. Well, okay, you've done this thing online. It's caused a lot of controversy. People were upset. But it's not like you killed somebody. Okay, well, if she killed somebody, she would be in prison. So, yeah, she didn't go to prison. That was not her sentence. And that's not the same to compare what happened to her. Oh, she lost some book sales. Oh, she doesn't get to have multi-million-dollar conferences anymore. That's capitalism, baby. That ain't the justice system, worked against you. So to bring that up and to say, well, you didn't hurt a child. Well, you didn't kill somebody. So what? Yeah, she didn't get punished for that. So the punishment did not fit you know what I'm trying to say? The punishment that she got was not so severe as, oh, she murdered somebody. So that to me is who cares? That's what about this? What about this person who did something worse? It's we're not talking about that. We're talking about this specific case, how people responded, what she did. It's just to go off on that. And then to say, Well, and it's so ironic because at the top they talk about safe space and about like if you want to be coddled, go to the Disney Channel. Yet they're saying here people should be cognizant of their comments because it could go cause someone like Rachel to go off themselves or to go hurt her children. That seems an extreme jump, a leap, a quantum leap into like how, you know, as commenters we should be holding our like accountability for us, but they have no accountability. They can make mistakes, they're human, but every comment person needs to like really wonder like, oh, is this person gonna, you know, hurt themselves because of this? That seems unbalanced.
And that's something I've heard several influencers who got canceled talk about. Suddenly it's all about the haters. Before getting canceled, the hate was completely tolerable. It was fine. Like, you know, I'm sure that I don't know the feeling of being a large YouTuber or a large influencer, but you know, I also get like a nasty comment here and there, and it's tolerable. And I'm assuming when you're a bigger YouTuber, you probably get like that times 100 or something. And but they all were just like, oh my god, I love you guys. Every video is like, I love you.
Yeah.
Can't wait to come back to YouTube. Blah blah blah, stuff like that. Then they get canceled. People have the appropriate reaction to something that these influencers have done. Suddenly, after people's appropriate reaction of like suddenly being disappointed, hurt, frustrated that they've been supporting someone who turned out to be so trash, I don't know, just suddenly you're left out without your favorite YouTuber because they stopped posting, or you know, there's just a range of things that come out about these people, and you as someone who has followed them, you're like hurt. You're generally hurt. You're because you they create this parasocial relationship with you, so you do feel like a friend. And oftentimes when people watch certain when I watch certain YouTubers, it's because I feel like we are similar. Like in real life, we probably would be friends if we knew each other. We have similar interests. That's why I watch them. So I'm assuming that most people who watch certain influencers, they feel similar to those people. You know, they feel in some way they'd be friends with them in real life if they were in the same location, etc.
Sure.
And then all these things come out about these people after you've fallen in love with them or something, and you have to face that betrayal of trust in that, you know, moment, and you obviously will have a reaction that is not going to be favorable, and it should not be favorable, because what kind of fake person responds to some like, I don't know, racist comments coming out or whatever from that influencer with like, oh, it's okay, like, you know, that's like that's completely crazy to respond like that. You are meant to respond with like a negative reaction. You should be okay to if you have been okay up until that point to show your support, to show your love in the comments, you should be allowed to also show when you're disappointed and when you're giving them feedback and when you're not happy, and what all that stuff should also be allowed. You can't just have one without the other, I feel. At least that's my take. And I feel like every time somebody's canceled, they turn around and suddenly the hate is too much. Yeah, I agree. It's probably too much for the person. I understand. But that is the consequence of what they have done. And the problem, the person, who is in that situation has the ability to walk away, to not read the comments, to not watch, to not whatever. Like Rachel has said a number of times, she doesn't watch. She doesn't watch because she doesn't want to hear, right?
Yeah.
So how is that hate affecting you if you're not watching if you're not reading comments, you're not watching videos? How exactly is the hate too much? You're not seeing it.
I think
so the hate is nothing if you're not seeing it. It's just more for us than it is for them because they're not even watching.
Well, it cuts into their bottom line, and that's like the biggest, you know, oh God, like they're not going to buy my book now. How dare I? But I think it's the entitlement. I think that's the key word. And she kind of I think she says privilege, but almost thinks it's like entitlement, that because she has, and Dave has this really bad like entitlement problem because he's written a book, because it has been successful before, it deserves to also be successful in perpetuity. And that's just not true. I mean, if we lived in a different society, a different, system, maybe that could happen. If you had one success, you deserve a million. But that's not how it works. Just because it's supply and demand. If people want your stuff, you can sell it. If people don't want your stuff, you got to find something else to make money. I don't necessarily agree with that system, but I think that that's what we're in right now. And these people have, become very successful through this system. So the fact that they think, oh, well, people have disagreed with me on something and now I'm being affected financially and that's not okay is bullshit. It's like, how is that, fair?
That's perfectly okay. That's exactly what should happen.
Yes.
Exactly what should happen. I can, it's not pleasurable for you. You're going to be hit financially, I suppose.
Too
but
bad.
You should have never had that privilege and you should have never gotten to that. Like, let's take Shane Dawson. He should have never gotten to the platform that he had. He should have never gotten to have so much money from platforms where he was being racist and he was being sexist and all sorts of isms that he was employing. So when you are hit financially, it's not that you're just like you're hit in that moment or whatever. You should have never been there in the first place. So it's like, to me, I'm not saying, I guess I'm saying it. I don't know. Like, I guess cancel culture is exactly what they deserve to me. And I feel like everyone tends to use the term cancel culture to somehow blame the audience. It's so to somehow just like take themselves out of the situation. It's not about me. It's about cancel culture. But yeah, okay, it is about cancel culture. But in this moment, this cancel culture is about you. So you're not like removed completely from it.
I mean,
and I hate that part from influencers. Like, it just, and that what you were saying there about Dave like not setting enough stuff. Gabby Hanna has a famous like line saying, "Manage your expectations." Yeah, manage your expectations, Dave, because that thing where this book didn't sell as good as the first one. That's just what happens when you create. Like, some stuff sells, some doesn't. Something that's what we do on YouTube. We post stuff. Sometimes it hits the algorithm. Sometimes it doesn't. You keep posting, and you can't really control that. You're never gonna be able to anticipate exactly perfectly what is going to happen or not with the public's reaction and response. So it's not really a given that everything that you come out with suddenly is like perfectly solved and you're just have no worries for the next 5 years in your life. Like,
yeah. And I think, this comes, like, we're 2022, this comes after a decade of, workshops at a small level and big influencers saying, teaching this type of stuff, saying, you are your brand. You need to brand yourself as XYZ, as a positivity first person, as a health and fitness expert, as a shampoo, whatever, dealer, expert, whatever these MLMs say to do. You have to be your brand. You can't then also say, be your brand, but then not deal with the repercussions that brands have every day. If someone finds a rat inside of a Chili's hamburger, and everyone stops going to Chili's now, no one's like, oh my God, they canceled Chili's. I feel so bad for Chili's. Like, their feelings, like, oh my God. It's like, no, it's a business. They need to go in, fix the kitchen, hope, do some positive PR and hope that they can survive it. You can't then say, like, when Rachel says, oh, I'm like Harriet Tubman, and people don't like that, go, well, I'm a person, I'm a human, and da-da-da. It's like, yeah, but you've sold your whole life to be a corporation. That's what you've designed your whole life around. Too damn bad. I'm sick of this. I had it both ways.
They want to have their cake and eat it too, Yeah. So totally. when it's profitable, they're a corporation who sells like notebooks, books, jewelry, clothes, pretty much everything under the sun. And then when it's more profitable to be a human being, suddenly she's a human being. She's a mom and she has kids and she's, just going through a divorce and I'm sure that those things are important. I'm not saying they're not important. Sure. What I'm trying to say is, like, you can't in one way market yourself as like, I want to be a mogul, I'm unstoppable, I'm this and that, and then suddenly when things come around, you're no longer a mogul and you're a frail human.
Yeah, I agree. I wish you would just stick to it. Like, I'm all for it, I'm not the type that's going to follow you if that's your brand, mogul, I'm so great and amazing. But there are people that will. So just pick one and stick to it and just hope for the best, I think, is be my advice to her. But, okay. Sorry for the ranting. Let's go.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Did you hear about what is it, Caleb from, do you guys hear about this TikTok thing? Do you know about this Caleb from, oh God, it's like he works at like a
West Elm. She never freaking prepares for anything. It's from West Elm.
And by the way, can I say, I think she saw our video.
I know, right?
Right? Like, because
we
made a video about West Elm Caleb, and before that, was it about Rachel? I think. So I think she's following us now.
Probably.
Rachel, if you follow us, love you.
Love you. Sending you love and light. Sending you love and light. No, I would love to talk to Rachel. Rachel's invited on this anytime, any day, anytime. We're ready for you, Rachel.
Yeah.
We want the exclusive, though.
I hope it's pretty obvious, Rachel. We would be more than happy to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
But you can't deflect like you did here, because it's not gonna. It's
She's
not
like,
gonna fly.
my Zoom is going off. My Zoom is going off, and she's just like hitting the button, like escape.
I think if she was on us, that would be the only way to get out of answering. Suddenly, like, the internet doesn't work, like, she's throwing up. I mean, I feel like I'm describing myself here.
This is my own projection onto Rachel. Yeah. Anyways, this part's so boring. I'm gonna let it play, but like she talks about West Elm Caleb and can't remember any specifics of the story, but basically saying like everyone dogpiled on Caleb and now he lost his job, which I don't even know if that's true. But I think the comparison is West Elm Caleb was a innocent civilian. He didn't try to sell anything. He wasn't a brand. So people piling on him and getting him fired. Yeah, I could see there is a problem with that. I don't agree with that necessarily, because he's not a brand. So that's the total difference, for me. But I'll let it play. Yeah. I was pretty bored during this whole section. So,
but I like that she's jumping to like Caleb's defense. It's like, he's not like this perfect guy who did nothing wrong. It's not like he chose the best role model right now to like to use in your little speech.
Scenario.
I feel like if I was to use someone, I would just use someone who was unfairly canceled. Yeah. But West Elm Caleb did do stuff, Yeah, sure. Maybe people shouldn't have tried to get him fired, but I don't think that he got fired, did he?
I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe.
I don't think he got fired.
Rachel doesn't know. She doesn't even know where he works. So,
as far as I know, he did not get fired. But I can imagine that maybe people did try to get him fired, but no, they didn't succeed. So it's not like
And there's a conversation to be had about all of this, about the level of severity, about calling people's work, and that I think there is a legitimate conversation to be had. But this is not the same comparison to that as someone who is a mogul, Rachel Hollis type. So I think it's almost like there's something to be said for all this, but non-related to this story at hand, personally.
Yeah, Caleb is just the guy. Rachel is an influencer.
I think she should have brought up like Aziz Ansari or someone where there was like a gray area of cancellation. Like people were mad, but there was some like, I don't know. There was like not a concrete story, and can you return from that? Even like Louis C.K., like there's a lot of, discussion about him, like whether, what he did crossed the line where he can never return. There's lots of conversations with nuance that can be had. But again, like this is not the same as what happened to Rachel. So it doesn't matter to her story. But yeah. Anyways, okay, we'll play.
Homeware store. Oh, this is okay. I'm gonna be a 39-year-old mother of four and not know this TikTok reference, but people can look it up. So my girlfriends were just telling me yesterday that there was this huge thing that happened on TikTok where someone made a video and said, I met this guy on Hinge. He like wined me, dined me, did like a love bomb when we first met, and then ghosted me. And it sucked. I really thought he liked me because he had made me this playlist on Spotify. And she was like, and here's his profile. And it was like Caleb, and he worked at some, like CB2, some home goods store. And when she posted it, whatever it was about the video, it sort of went viral on TikTok, like how they do. And other women started saying, oh my God, I dated this guy, Caleb. He's like 23 or something. I dated this guy, Caleb. I really want to, real quick, this is not tea. This is loose tea, as my friend would say. I'm telling you what I know, but someone could be listening going, you got the whole story wrong. So just FYI. But other women started saying, oh my God, I had the same experience with this guy and he ghosted me and he gave me that playlist too. He told me he made me a playlist. The internet exploded. Okay. So all of these people on the internet started calling his job and telling this guy is a bad guy, you need to fire him. The internet goes crazy. Bumble took out a billboard that was like, if you don't want to end up in a relationship with someone like Caleb, be the one who makes the first move. Like, everything exploded. He's a 23-year-old dude or whatever who ghosted some women. And yeah, that's douchebag, but not enough to get him fired. Not enough to like
ruin his life.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is my point, and what I'm saying is like, you know,
that's where somebody should be like, yeah, but he didn't get fired.
Well,
Did
yeah.
he? I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, let me know.
I don't think he did.
But even so, it's like no one fired Rachel. She still is the CEO of her company. She says in this podcast, she makes a substantial amount of money from her podcast. So her being canceled has not affected her, other than not as many people and not as many dollars are coming into her bank account. Like that's how it works. Yeah. Sorry, like if you can't recover, then you're not really a mogul that you think you are, because lots of moguls go through ups and downs and recessions and things. Like you can't just have it perfect all the time, or else you blame the audience.
Yeah. So Weston did not, in fact, get fired. So
he didn't?
No.
Yeah. So this whole story is stupid. Unrelated.
Yeah. That's great. Thanks, Rachel, for that one. Thanks, Matthew, for not picking up on.
Yeah, I'm sure little Matthew is going to say.
Story.
Yeah, it's going to agree with everything she just said.
Obviously.
Okay, let's see.
As a public, we're starting to play judge and jury, but you're not thinking like, you know, we all get so protective of our children. If you heard your children were getting bullied on the playground, you lose it. You get so upset. You're so angry with the school. You're so angry with the kids on the playground. Think about how small that scale is, right? You start piling onto people online. Like at some, like, this is going to get to a very dark place, right?
What?
And again, I'm not excusing people's behavior. I'm just saying,
I take full responsibility, like 100%. I take full responsibility, because the bottom line is, if people felt like I had created a space that wasn't welcoming to them, then I'm going against my core values as a person and as a creator. So I did something wrong and I had to learn from it. But the issue with cancel culture is that I don't feel like most people care whether or not the person who made the mistake is actually learning or growing or evolving. They just want to see what they can do to sort of, how far can we take this? And that feels twisted.
Okay, two things on
this
that.
This is where she's blaming us. This is it. Right here. Yeah. Because she's not talking about commenters here. What she's talking about is people who talk about her on YouTube, I think.
Yeah, and I think she's saying like people make it a hobby and to like point out things about people's flaws and whatever. And that's twisted. But for me personally, I don't give a shit at all if the person that, you know, Rachel improves as a human being. I really don't care. All I care is that message that she put out there, I give my opinion and say like, yeah, I disagree. This type of behavior, I'm not in line with. I don't care if she learns from it. I don't care really at all what she does as a person. So to me, cancel culture is just making a public statement saying people who do this stuff are not cool with me, and a lot of other people it's not cool with either. If she returns and does something different, great, wonderful. I'm all for it. But I'm not like searching her like, I really hope Rachel changes. Like, I don't care. It's just like, I'm commenting on that one issue because I think it really explains a more like a societal thing that goes on. People are so entitled to having all this attention and money. It's like, relax. I don't know.
Yeah, I do care to some extent, because it gets frustrating watching, and that's part of the reason I'm still watching. I am curious to see how she comes back. Does she manage to do this right? And so far, even this podcast, it's frustrating. I would like for her to get it right, and I would probably be kind of shut up by her if she got it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if she managed to get it right, I'd be like, well, I guess I have nothing to say. So well done, Rachel, and that would be it. You know what I mean? And I would like to see that. But I don't want it to be done in this secretive way. If you got so like, you know, if you got canceled and you did this really big public thing and you fucked up, but it's public and everyone has seen it and so many like newspapers have picked up on it. I want the comeback to also be noticeable. Like I don't want like, you know, video that has 2,000 views on YouTube that nobody's watching and nobody's commenting on because they hate you. Like these little like, you know, coming this little what's this like string of videos and podcasts for her to come back slowly is like kind of underwhelming, and it's frustrating to see that, because I would like to see something like this, but done well, where she actually says, I did this and I did this. And I think that she might win some people back if she did that,
Sure.
because like people like authenticity. People like to see someone, okay, that's what it would be to be vulnerable. Like anything else that Rachel has claimed to be vulnerable, that's bullshit. This is what it would be to be vulnerable, to say, I just I fucked up and I said this, and I don't know why I said it, or if she knows why she said it, it would be nice to hear why she said it. But she could say, I now understand just how problematic that line of thinking was, or just how whatever. And
Yeah.
but the thing is, I also feel like if they get on that, if people like Rachel Hollis get on that train of thought and start to see what is wrong with their things they're saying, and the train of thoughts and stuff like that, they might end up giving up on their chosen career. And I don't think they want to. I think they are refusing. They're pushing those thoughts away. They don't want to hear us, because they don't want to be told really just how bad it is what they're doing.
Yeah.
And this is why it's frustrating, because you feel like you're speaking, well, we're not speaking into a void, because we have people here and we're speaking to people, and there's people who want to just kind of get it off their chest in the comments all the time and stuff like that. So
Sure.
I don't feel like we're speaking into the void. But it would be really nice when we criticize these people to just get someone to come back and say something, and say, that they've listened, they've acknowledged, and
They're
they
moving
think
forward.
we're right or whatever. Or like, at least to hear us out. You want to be heard. At least I do. I want to be heard. And I feel like she's refusing anything that isn't just an echo chambers where people are telling her, you're right, you're perfect, you're wonderful, you're blah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think she almost does a disservice to the people who have remained loyal to her the whole time, because I'm sure there are people who still like will want. People went to her Rise conference after this had happened, after the divorce had happened. There were still people, a much smaller group of people, who still shelled out thousands of dollars to go see her in person. And the fact that she feels like she has to go on to these podcasts and like defend herself to try to get more people to like her, it almost makes it seem like, do you really, like, I don't know. It's not about appealing to the right women, that ones that need to hear the message that she has. She just needs mass numbers to buy her shit so that she can continue to live the lifestyle that she does. But that's completely the opposite of what she's saying. Like, I care about women. I want to inspire women. It's like you have a group of women already. You want more women because that means more money. Therefore, you don't really care about the women that you're helping now, in my opinion.
And some of the problem with that is that these people who paid so much money to go to follow her, and who kept up with her life since I don't know when, those people, lots of those people are probably some of these people who are disillusioned, and they're hurt, and they're no longer supporting her, and they became the haters, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In Rachel's eyes. But they are not the haters. They're people who followed her, who liked her, who bought her stuff, who
Fans.
supported her. They're fans. But they clearly, they would have hurt feelings. They would have negative things to say because they're hurt.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make them the dog pile. That doesn't make them imagine just like having a brother or a sister, and they're constantly like on your side, and they love you and stuff like that. But then you do something wrong, and they're like getting against you, and now suddenly you're like, oh my god, you're such a hater. Like, what about all the times that I helped you? Like, or no, it's not fair. It's just kind of, I was one of these people who I liked Rachel in the beginning. I wasn't necessarily one of her biggest fans. I never went to the conferences. I never I did buy the books, but then I started reviewing them negatively. So there's that. But I would watch her motivation stuff, motivation videos and podcasts and whatnot, up until a point where they became really repetitive. And then I discovered this niche on YouTube.
And then you're like, oh, I see the light. I see it. I see the other side. Yeah,
exactly.
I was similar. I read her book, Girl Wash Your Face, when I was, going through my self-development phase, which was like probably 3 years long. I want to say. Like, I watch Gary Vee stuff all the time. I watch Tony Robbins stuff. I listened to Rachel's book. I listened to Marie Forleo's book. I read Atomic Habits. I read like all the basic books that they would talk. I watched Impact Theory. Like, I did it all as an earnest, non-hating, like really wanting to improve myself because I felt bad about myself at the time. And I was like, I need something to fix this. I kept trying and trying and trying and trying. And then I ended up at the end like, none of it worked. I feel worse now because now I feel like it's all my fault. And then I found this group and I was like, wow, for the first time in my life, I feel like I don't feel bad about myself. It's like, oh, it's a system that's designed to make me keep feeling this way. Okay, great. Let me get out of it and I'll see if I feel better. And I do immensely better. So for what that's worth, it's like, I think I feel better now than I ever did listening to this inspirational crap.
Yeah, exactly.
Listening to haters has made me feel better. So I don't know.
Me too. And not just listening to the haters, becoming the hater, I guess.
Becoming a
because
hater,
I will appropriate the word if need be. I have no problem if people want to call me a hater, if people want to call me the Beetlejuice or what. I don't care. Call me whatever you want, but address what I'm saying to you. Like address what I'm attempting to criticize here.
Yeah.
You can call me hater all like throughout the podcast. I don't care, but just tell me when I'm asking, why are you telling people that they need to feel bad about their situation, that they need to feel bad about their 9 to 5? Why are you selling them these things that are unthought through? Why are you selling them, I don't know, apps about fitness when you're not a fitness, like you do fitness, but you're not like, you've not studied this. You don't know how it works for regular people who might have like, some of them might have like health issues. I had health issues and I could train all I want, but like my body just wasn't like losing weight and stuff like that. Like she doesn't know these things because she's not. There's people who are, for lack of a better word, like experts in these things because they've put the years in and the practice in and stuff like that. You can just like, oh, so I run. Suddenly I'm an expert, so I'm gonna create an app and sell you this. Like, can anything not be a product? Like just one thing.
Not when you're a boss, babe. Everything's a product. Babe. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. Sorry for the rant.
No, I agree. I'm on your page. Oh, here's our
Is that
ad.
act in that?
which I like. It's absolutely amazing. Give it a try and see why.com/skinny.
/skinny. Okay, sorry. Such an unfortunate name.
What
Podcast.
was it like the first week after this? And I want you to walk me through from the second that you posted this video to like when you started to realize maybe this is not what I should have posted to a week later, because that's what I always think about when I see a fellow content creator go through something like this. I always think like, do you turn your phone off? Are you in your room in the dark? Like that to me is the first thing my brain goes to, because it's not like you can call a friend who can relate to this at all. You kind of just have to just deal with it yourself.
Ironically, yeah. Why would you want to call anyone? Because you're better
She
than
doesn't
everybody
want to
else.
be relatable, yeah. But this question here from Lauryn.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. This question from Lauryn is setting her up as the victim. Like, talk me through how painful it is. And Rachel is going to respond something like, I don't watch. So
I have no idea what's going on, but yes, it was really painful. It's like,
yeah, I have no idea what they said. I was on holiday. I was having the best time. That's it.
And then she's also humble bragging too, in my opinion. She's like, she'll talk about her friends and like how her friends cared about her so much and like brought her food and like cared about her to check up on her. It's like, not everyone has that either. Like if you lost your job, a lot of people don't have that group of friends that are going to come and rally around you. Like that's a privilege too. But
why did she feel so bad when she's not seen any of the comments or videos or anything?
I don't know. So none of this makes sense.
Why exactly she would, like, you know what I mean? Like you must see something in order to feel affected by it.
This whole thing is a contradiction. I don't get it.
I don't regret anything.
And there you go.
I feel like she's not even picking up on Lauryn's attempt to make her look like the victim. Lauryn is trying really hard here. You'll see. Let's play it because I know what's coming next. But
yeah.
You guys will see.
Like she lobs it. She lobs the softball, or she like throws the softball like gently as she can to Rachel to answer this question. Like
Yeah, Rachel walks away from the softball.
Yeah. She's like, no, I don't even know what you're talking about. But yes, I was.
But yeah, hard.
But yes, feel bad
Right.
for me.
So I posted it and I don't look at stuff after I post. I just sort of think I'll put it out into the world and it does what it does. And then
Exactly.
a couple days later, because it wasn't right away that people freaked out. I was at Six Flags with my kids and my best friend called me. And my best friend is a Black woman. And she called me and she was like, "Ooh, bitch, your white girl's showing." And I was like, "What?" I literally had no idea what she was talking
You
about.
had no idea.
No idea.
Nothing. You didn't even like look. You didn't look
Nothing.
at DMs. Nothing.
I didn't know. I had no idea.
Nothing.
And she was like, I want to check on you. I want to check on you because people are really upset. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I had no idea. I honestly didn't even know that I was putting something. You know how sometimes you put something out, you're like, this is going to piss people off. I didn't, honest to God, which just shows my ignorance. I just had no idea. So she was the one who called me. And in calling me, she was upset. And I'll tell you what, the internet being mad at you is nothing so I have 3 best friends, 2 of them are Black women. Nothing is worse, nothing than hurting them. Because now their friends are calling them being like, "You're friends with this bitch? Like this one and that was horrible." So I'm at the rest of the time that we're at this amusement park, I'm trying to like be mom and be hyped up. And I don't really know the full extent of what's happening. So I got the kids back home. It was the weekend. And I had at the time a PR team. I was working with a PR team because I was doing press. They had helped me after the launch of my last book. And I was like, "Hey, I don't really know, like, should I take this down? I don't know. I don't really understand, but should I take this down?"
Here's where she claims amnesia, or like not amnesia, but she claims like she doesn't understand anything. Ignorance. She's like, "Hey, I don't know anything. What should I do?" And they're like, "Don't do anything." And she's like, "Okay, I'm not gonna take that advice." And then
Yeah.
post her.
So
own
here's
thing.
what she just said 10 minutes ago. She said, cancel culture, oh my God, it's so painful. And now this girl is like, oh my God, so tell me, how painful was it when you
Yeah.
were canceled? And she's like, oh, I was living my best life. I didn't even know.
Yeah, that's at Six
Didn't
Flags,
you
babe.
just say 10 minutes ago that, people's comments and like the dogpiling was awful? And now you're like, no, I was just in a restaurant with my kids. Like, I was having a great time. Like,
Yeah, we're on the
great,
roller
thanks.
coaster. We're on a roller coaster. We're eating corn dogs, and I had to be disrupted by a call from my friend. It was like really hard. It's like,
But what I would say that I'm happy about is that she got some real life consequences in the form of her friends being hurt.
yeah,
Because I feel like that is powerful. Like, I think while being canceled on the internet, I imagine probably is also powerful. The
Sure.
people on the internet, you don't know them in real life, and you don't get as affected when somebody that you don't know in real life says something about you.
yeah,
But when somebody in your real life says it, it's like 10 times more powerful. So I do like that at least her friends picked up on it and they're like, not cool, dude.
yeah. And I've never seen anything, like I said in the last video, other than on Instagram and like looks like a fun personal like picture or something. They used to be intertwined in the business. Like Beans was like a speaker at Rise and did stuff with Rachel. The other girls were like involved. That was her stylist. They've never worked with her again that I've seen in a business sense.
Really?
So it looks like there might be some consequences there. I don't know if it's whose choice that was or what, but
I think she did mention Rosie in some of the Rage Talk episodes that she came
afterwards,
up with. Like,
true.
yeah.
Well, the
Because
Beans
she always
one.
says, my best friend's Rosie is my stylist, and I picked up on that. But that was,
Yeah.
wait, because I was in Glasgow. That would have been a while ago, maybe like a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember. But now she's thrifting only, so maybe she's gone too. I
Oh,
don't know.
no. Oh, no. Have you not seen her Rage Talk on like obnoxious loungewear?
But she bought that herself.
No, yeah, she buys like loungewear that is very expensive and
Yes, I
costs
saw
like
it.
$100 a piece. But
Yes,
like,
unfortunately, I did
definitely
see
like
that.
thrift. You guys should thrift. Here's a sponsorship.
She had this one
Goodwill.
company. She was
Goodwill
like,
has sponsored me.
yeah. She had one thing. She's like, I got this sweater. It's called like my boyfriend's sweater, and it cost me like $400, and it's thrifted. It's like, cool.
Wow.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks
Nice.
for that
Thanks for
suggestion.
like making thrifting like unaffordable for the people
Yeah.
that need it most. Thanks,
Wonderful.
Rachel. That's great.
Yeah.
Because the people who actually need thrifting, they go there because it's cheap. But let's make it expensive. Let's just push it, to everyone so that the prices increase, and then
Yeah.
people who actually can't afford it,
Yeah.
they no longer are able to wear clothes, and then we can imprison them for nudism.
It's a good system.
Yeah.
I like it. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Let's
They
hear
were like, just don't do anything. Don't say anything. Don't comment. Don't do anything. We'll talk about it on Monday. And at this point, it's like, it's been picked up. It's an issue. And so I ended up writing something myself just because I felt like I have to say something about this. And then the internet, I don't remember what I wrote in that, to be totally honest with you. And then that was like, it's not enough.
Really?
You didn't say I'm sorry in the right way. You didn't say it to the full extent. And don't feel sorry for me for 1 second. But I will tell you that being inside of that, nobody
Inside of it.
prepares you. Nobody trains you. Nobody knows how to respond to that. I didn't know how to.
What about
I was
the
like,
PR?
oh,
Wait, what about the PR company?
They
What do you
said,
mean nobody knows.
don't post anything. We'll talk about it Monday. And she goes, fuck you. And then posts anyways.
Post something that she just can't remember.
Just can't remember. Yeah. Because it was
Yeah.
horrible. We
It
can
was
look
so
at
well
it if we
thought
want.
through, and she was so affected that she can't even remember what she wrote there. Okay.
How about you review it? How about you go back and review it before you go on this podcast to redeem yourself at the very
How about
least?
Lauryn and Matthew at least had some idea of what happened?
Pull it up.
And it could be like, here's what you said.
Here's what you said. Tell me about that. Let's talk through it. Yeah, there's none of that. It's just like, oh, and then she frames it as I apologize from the bottom of my heart, and people still weren't satisfied because not everyone was apologized to. It wasn't good enough for them. These haters, it wasn't good enough for
It really
them.
was not good enough. It really was not good enough.
I mean,
And this is also not good enough.
yeah,
She's not apologized well enough ever.
no, I agree.
Because she just doesn't want to acknowledge what she actually did wrong. Like she will just play dumb. Like, I just don't remember. I just can't. I have no idea. I
hate that. Drives me
That's
nuts.
not. People are not that idiotic.
Yeah.
They're just smarter than that. Like, come on, give us some credit.
Yeah, and I think it really, and I hate to say this again, but like it makes women look bad because it's like when women are confronted with the same issue, like, okay, what do you have to say about this? Some responsibility. She, who is someone who is supposed to represent women and be an women empowerment person, goes, oh, I don't remember. Oh, I'm a mom. Oh, this and that. Like, I don't want to hold responsibility for this. It's like frustrating because it's like that's when men go or other women say, well, women can't handle it. Women can't be in people of power, can't be in leadership positions because as soon as they get confronted with something, they go, oh, I don't know. I'm a tiny woman. I don't know.
It's not every woman that does that, but
Sure, definitely not.
She is reinforcing that idea that is already pushed by men a lot so that they can stay in power. So it's kind of doing us a disservice.
Yeah, I wish you would just say, yeah, I fucked up. I didn't, realize how much it affected people, but I learned a lot in the last year and I will never do that again. And I'm so glad that, people brought this to my attention. I hope I can win back your approval. That would be it.
Striking right now. I'm just, I guess it's just like a fresh thought, but like, since she made this mistake with the TikToks and whatever, and people were already upset about her divorce and like, because the TikTok was not it. Like there were like loads and loads of things that happened before that
Plagiarizing,
people
Maya Angelou.
yeah, so many things that she's done, like talking about people who are overweight in a very demeaning manner, talking like just body shaming people, all sorts of things. She's done all sorts of things. So people were like getting fed up with her. So I think this was just like the last thing. Okay, so this happened. She came up with that idiotic apology, didn't work. She came up with another apology, also didn't work. And now this is a year almost later, or 10 months later, and she's coming up with this. It's like, Rachel, at which point do you get this is not going to work? Like, you tried it before with a bullshit apology. You tried it again with like turning things like around and whatever. Like, why do you keep trying the same strategy? Are you like seriously blind to the fact that people are not buying it? Don't you think it would be a better idea to rethink this strategy and just be like, okay, so people didn't buy the bullshit that I gave them first time. They didn't buy the bullshit I gave them the second time. Maybe they don't want bullshit. Let me try to sell them something else.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't think she knows how what else to do. This is like all she's got, I think, in a way.
Just that's the thing. If she listened, she would know exactly. Because people, I don't think people are being shy of telling her. I'm telling her exactly what to do. Just come up with the fucking truth. Just be like, I plagiarized my Angelou. I then blamed it on my team. I got a PPP loan and then I fired my team. I did all these things. You can say I was desperate. I whatever. Because we probably believe that you were. So, but at least give us a little something real, because like at this point we have very little to cling on to. This is breadcrumbs what she gave in this interview. Like it's so little, so little. So for even people who want to come back to liking her, this isn't going to cut it. Like it's not a lot that she gave here.
No, I totally agree. And like I said, she acknowledges a few things here and there, like, don't feel sorry for me. It's a proof of my ignorance. I think those are good things to say. Those phrases that she did say sprinkled throughout. I think those are good. But very quickly after, she followed up with a caveat, but cancel culture is just as bad. Or, but I was in a place where blah, blah, blah. And it's like almost takes away everything she just said. She should have just stopped at the sentence and not continued. Like, I was ignorant. I did not understand what this meant, period. Instead of like, but, like, well, this is like a defense of myself. It's like, we don't need that defense. It's not helping her cause.
The ironic thing is that as scary as coming out with the truth might have been, or might still be for her, had she done it the first time, she would have probably been way better off right now, because that was the hot moment, and if she just striked while the iron was hot, and she really gave a proper apology that people could have used to be like, okay, fine, we forgive you, then I think she would have not struggled so much. But now she's doing this like slow thing, and it's probably painful for her too to see her numbers tank like that, and like it's probably painful to be in that situation. And she's doing this like, I don't know if you're right, and she's going to go on like a tour of apologies or whatever. We're here for it, by the way, if that happens. But like, it's a painful, slow process. Like, why not just like do the thing that is probably more painful in the moment, but then it saves you so much pain later. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I think, rip the Band-Aid off. Because I feel like she thinks like that's the last straw, and if people don't like that, then like there's no coming back. So maybe she's like avoiding that final like Hail Mary attempt to regain the followers, because she I've never seen the video, so I can't confirm that it exists, but it's been talked about a lot that at a conference that she was giving, she did like an after hours type thing where she said like, I can sell you the dirty socks off my feet, I own you, like that's how powerful I am. And I think if that's your mentality, which I think it is, every thought that comes into her head is the right one. The way she would want to handle this PR crisis is the right one, because she is so powerful. She owns her audience, but she doesn't realize that that's fleeting. You didn't have them for life. You had them for that moment. Maybe you did own them for that time. Like, you were so good at selling, but that's not sustainable. She doesn't own them anymore, and she doesn't know how to like act when that's not the case, I guess.
Yeah, and that is a byproduct of like setting herself up in a way that she's like in an echo chambers, and nobody's being able to, because maybe people in her entourage might have felt differently. Like they might have felt a little bit different, but she's established herself like, no, I know best. So people would probably be like, well, I mean, if she thinks so, she probably does know best, whatever. Okay, so I'm not gonna speak up. And also, if the vibe is we don't criticize, we just think positive, we speak positive or whatever, then people won't say the real thing that they're thinking. And that's why you shouldn't do that. Because look where you got. Like, that's, you know what I mean? That's why it's so bad to just really shut yourself out from the world and from criticism and just putting yourself in an environment where everyone just constantly agrees with you. Like, sure, we all like to be agreed with, and most of
Sure.
the time it's fine. But like, just if you just shut yourself off from it completely, then you're living in a separate life, essentially, separate world, and you will have repercussions from the real world, because this is the real world. It's not your separate world, your little bubble that you're trying to build, because the little bubble is made up. It's not the
Burst.
real, it's not a
Yeah.
real society we live in.
Yeah, I agree. The whole world's not Mel Robbins, Jay Shetty, Lewis Howes, and Rachel Hollis having a picnic every day, and I'm glad for it. Okay, this is one thing I want to bring up. So, Gloria says, "Wait, dirty socks is a Dave thing." They
Yeah.
both have enjoyed and employed the dirty sock symbolism, I guess. Dave took it literally, where he was like gonna sign his socks and send them to somebody for making a good decision by buying his stupid book. Rachel, the story behind this is that allegedly at one of these Rise conferences, Rachel said, this is before the Dave thing, said, "I could sell you these dirty tube socks that I'm wearing right now, and someone would buy it, or you would buy it, because I'm so powerful. Like, you believe everything I say." And she was basically like showing people how to become entrepreneurs as powerful as she was, but then she was also telling this information to the people that she was claiming to own. It was very confusing. I've never
That
heard
sounds
it.
like when you go to an interview and they're like, "Sell me this pen."
Yes,
That sounds
that's
like Rachel would be
exactly,
like, "I can sell you my dirty sock,
because
actually.
I'm such a good entrepreneur. That was the vibe I
I'm
got
such a
too.
good salesman."
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well,
that's what
not right
I'm
now,
referring to.
Rach.
Yeah. She came and sell her life story again. Shocking. She
Yeah.
she'll talk about this later too, but she's like, or maybe it was the first part, I don't remember, but she says like, "Oh, I don't want to just tell women tips on how to live a better life. I gave you 3 books." It's like, what else would you effing write about? That's all you ever talk about is yourself and your life
Like,
story.
nobody
So
forced you.
yeah,
Nobody
like,
forced
oh,
you, Rachel.
I
You
gave
wrote
you
those.
3. I threw 3 books at your dumb feet, you
Yeah, and you made
peasants.
a lot of money.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, okay, let's keep going. Huh? Let's keep going.
I have apologized and I've said, and it was like, you didn't apologize enough, or you didn't apologize to all of us for all the reasons we were offended. And then that felt so overwhelming, because I was like, fuck, I don't know what to do. And people are so upset. And I just in the middle of like a shitstorm.
Are you calling your friends? Are you like,
No, I
connecting
tend-
with your family? Are you just siloed? Are you alone?
I'm siloed. If I am going through something hard, I just go into a cave. And I was so embarrassed and I was so ashamed. And I didn't even fully understand at the time what I had done wrong. And I didn't know how to make it right. And like Monday morning, we had a big, like the full PR team, because it was like, well, now you've really fucked up because you apologized, but you didn't apologize right. And I was like, it was one of the craziest experiences of my life. And on that call, I'm sobbing. Like, I'm so embarrassed that my team is having to deal with this. I'm so embarrassed that this PR team is having to like.
And you're running a sizable company at this stage.
Yeah. I mean, we still had, like 30, maybe 40 people at that point.
How do you even show up for all those people and your kids?
That honestly was so grueling, was that it was like, oh, you need to have, the Monday morning meeting, or you need to have the whatever. And it's like, we need to see you strong, and you need to apologize to the staff. And it's just, I'm not saying that it didn't need to happen, but it was nothing in my life has ever been harder than that week.
I will say too,
Okay.
with
I find that to be unbelievable that that's true.
So, well, I mean, okay, I believe that she was embarrassed. Like, obviously, you're embarrassed when your 60 employees are like, "What the fuck did you just do?" You know?
Yeah. Well, apparently
And
she had
when
30,
she's
40
saying-
at that time, so she already let go 20 of them, which is kind of not
Yeah.
surprising, but interesting that they were slow. It's almost like a slow decline as opposed to everyone's gone immediately.
Well, maybe they spoke up and
Yeah, they're like,
can.
I'm out of
in
here.
that company. Maybe they spoke up and she was like, "You're fired. Thank
Yeah.
you for that." Bye.
Yeah. Bring
But
up the apology.
she's like saying that she wanted to apologize. She was like, okay, so what I heard here is her saying, I was meant to apologize to the staff, and then I was also meant to show up strong and have the Monday morning meetings. Excuse me. That is complete and utter bullshit. You're in a crisis. Nobody cares about your stupid routine Monday meeting. Like, you're about to lose all your sponsorship. You're about to lose
You're in
like all
crisis
of these
mode.
things. the Monday meetings don't count anymore. Like none of this stuff, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's no, I've never seen a company act like that. Like if something big is happening, like everyone just kind of rethinks, and you're like
Yeah.
suddenly, canceling things, doing other things. Like you're just on your feet, whatever. At least that's how it was in my life. But I'm not. Maybe Rachel's really not relatable because like I've never seen a boss go through a crisis with his company, and not even a crisis, but when something big is happening and it's overwhelming and it's a lot of work to deal with. I've never seen them be like, yeah, but I need to do the Monday. Like they all not don't come to any of those when it's like,
Yeah,
you
something's
know.
going down. But at the same time,
And
it's like,
also,
sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
but also like when she is saying that, oh, I need to apologize to the staff and stuff like that. Yeah, you do, but that's
Yeah.
not the bad thing. You are meant to, like, that's like you can be like, oh, look how much more workload has just been added to my tasks today. I also need to, like,
Yeah.
no, that should be like your priority. Like suddenly you should leave everything else and just be make sure that at least the people around you understand where you came from, and that you didn't mean to insult them or whatnot. I hope that she gave them an apology that is better than this.
Yeah, probably not. I doubt it. She probably was like in like, okay, we all have to work as a team to like get in front of this and figure out what to. I don't know. I don't think whatever PR team she hired, they need to probably not be. Well, she didn't take their advice though, so maybe they did have the right plan. And she didn't take it. I don't know whose fault it is, but I think it's funny that one part that she said, she's like, I was sobbing. I felt so bad. My team had to deal with this. I felt so bad. The PR team had to deal with this. However, meanwhile, that weekend post that she made says very clearly, and this is something that Rachel Hollis is very used to doing or is very known to do: blame the team. She says, that's where things started, but because I still haven't learned, I didn't respond to these things on Friday when I heard that people were upset. I listened to my team instead of my gut. Doesn't that show like you're throwing your team? And she says my team, so I think a lot of people would assume that's her Rachel Hollis company team that she didn't trust her gut on, so she's blaming them for not addressing this sooner. So like, don't be mad at me, be mad at my team. I should have listened
Or
to what
she's
I had in my heart. It's like now she's
or she's
sobbing and
blaming the
felt so
PR
bad.
team. And
Yeah,
maybe the PR team is like, why the fuck did you post this saying that we're at fault? You know?
exactly. Why would she? And then she's saying that she's sobbing and feels so bad that they have to deal with it. That doesn't sound like the same person that posted that Instagram to me.
Yeah, I don't care that you're sobbing. You should be sobbing.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's such a. I've heard this a lot. Like,
Cop
oh
out.
my God, I was crying and I was having such a bad day. It's like, you
Too
should
bad.
be having a bad day.
So what? We're
Yeah,
not
because you
allowed to be
fucked
mad.
up.
Yeah, we're not allowed to be upset because you are feeling the repercussions from it. I don't think that's a fair, trade off. Like, oh well, I don't want anyone to ever feel sad ever, so therefore I can never be upset.
No, that's perfectly fine that you're sad. If you're crying, the apology towards your team should come across probably a little bit more genuine. Like, you should be crying when you've just insulted like the entire planet.
Yeah, exactly. And be like, well, this is going to affect our bottom line, which affects your jobs, which is like the most important thing. No one really cares. I don't think even her employees really care as much about Rachel and her feelings as they do about, am I getting a paycheck at the end of this week or not? Like, that's what real people are concerned about, not what Rachel thinks.
I wonder if they were also concerned with like, oh, her career is done. Like, am I gonna get
Probably.
another job? Like, I need to look for another job.
As they should.
Yeah.
That should be their priority, not like, oh, how is Rachel gonna feel? Like, she's fine. She's said before she's financially stable the rest of her life if she never wants to work again. Great, wonderful. Now the other people have concerns like, am I gonna pay my mortgage this month? Like, that's what
Yeah.
I think is the true. And they're depending on this woman not to do this dumb shit.
Yeah.
Like, take the advice of the professionals. The PR team told you not to say anything. You wrote this dumb apology that sucks. That's on her, but all her team's affected. It's not
Yeah.
just about her anymore.
And that's why there is no team now. All of those people, pretty much all
Bye-bye.
of them, except for what? Like,
I think there's 2 to 3 people. This is a guess, just based on LinkedIn, and how small her operation is, and that the building seems to be in different hands. I think she's got 3 people full time on her team.
okay.
That's my guess.
So yeah, I was thinking 4 because she always says Rosie, Jack, and I'm assuming probably like another one or two would be around or something, or perhaps freelancers. But
Yeah.
anyways, the team is completely gone. Those people have had to go find other jobs.
Yeah.
I
Because
wonder
of
who
her
hires
actions.
you after working for Rachel Hollis when Rachel Hollis is being canceled.
I bet a lot of people, I don't think that they're tarnished. I think it's very clear that that was not a team decision to do what she did. And I think they'd be fine, because they did have success. They had really good, social media was great, minus her own words. So I think they probably were fine, I would guess. I could be wrong.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't think I've ever thought about the team
Where they
throughout
are.
this.
Yeah.
I did think about them with the PvP loan when it came out that she fired a lot of people and stuff. But like right now, it's just funny, and I hadn't thought about them, but they were all affected, all of them and their families.
Yeah, and that's that she doesn't really apologize to them throughout this apology. Like, my actions really, because she blames it on COVID. She's like, COVID, canceled all conferences. It's like, no, it didn't. People went hybrid, and I think she probably could have pivoted if she wanted to virtual.
Well, she tried, didn't she? She tried to have one, and she didn't get any.
Well,
like
she got
not many viewers.
Yeah, she had one and it was successful, I think. And then this happened. She tried to do the hybrid one, and then it didn't work. So I don't know.
But that was because she was canceled
Because
at
of
that point.
this. Yeah,
That
it
was
wasn't
not, yeah.
COVID.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
because of COVID. Because of COVID, she went online, it worked, and then she got canceled and it no longer worked. Oh, what a surprise.
Yeah, whose fault is it? But she really leans on that too. In her Rach talks too, she's very much like, oh, I work from home because of COVID. It's like, no, you work from home because you lost your building. Or
I
you
wonder
sold
if she's
it.
embarrassed to say,
Totally.
in front of real people. She's embarrassed to say, because obviously there's a different thing with us watching, but like these two are in front of her. I wonder if it's embarrassing to be like, so I got canceled and,
Probably.
like, I couldn't
Their
even do
time's
my
coming
job.
though, I think.
All
Probably.
those all those successful things you mentioned at the beginning. Yeah, I have none of them because I'm such an idiot that posted that 1 minute TikTok.
Be careful.
I'm sorry for laughing, but it's
No,
just
I agree.
hilarious.
I totally agree. It makes sense to me. It's like, yeah, and I think because she does like to say, I had a company of 60 people, I had a company of this, I had all these things. Like, she knows it's impressive, but the fact that she's lost it, she's not acknowledging that, and I think that would make her vulnerable. That's something she doesn't want to be. So, anyways, okay, let's keep going.
Issues that have arisen over COVID too. When something comes up and people want my immediate response, I am the type of person that I need to go inward and meditate and think and write. And I cannot just react right away. It's just not my personality.
Right.
I have to wrap my head around what's going on and think of, the proper way to respond eloquently. Like, I just don't want to be so reactive.
Yes.
Well, taking this issue aside, I think it's one of the biggest problems in this world right now is people are just constantly reactive. They're not thinking. People don't stop and think about any of their actions. Right?
Yeah, that's the biggest problem in the world right now.
It's like verbal, and I'm talking not even about just your issue. I'm talking about any issue. People just quick. You see it on Twitter. Somebody says something, they don't even actually read what somebody said or listen, or they don't even read about. Like, it's just headline, respond.
Okay, sorry, I don't mean to stop it again, but that's literally what they did. They haven't watched the video. Rachel claims to not even know what she said in the video, what she said in an apology, what she said. So who is not watching the material? They are not. And
I
Dave,
wonder if they even did watch, but they're not bringing it up because it's not on the agenda to actually hold her
Promote
accountable
her.
for anything.
yeah, and Dave did the same thing. He immediately, when he got 1-star reviews on Amazon from his book, he claimed they didn't even read the book. They just posted the bad comment. They didn't even read it. It's like, how can you know that? You don't know that. The book came out. People read it, didn't like it. Just accept that. It's not like they always go like, people didn't even understand the TikTok. They didn't even watch the TikTok. It's like, how do you know? How are you just assuming any negative comments means they didn't actually consume it? It's like, that's not true.
I'm more cynical than you for sure, because I don't think that he doesn't know. I think he's saying
On
that
purpose.
so that other people buy it.
Yeah,
These
I'm
are
sure.
just
I mean,
comments
I agree.
from people who didn't read it. They didn't actually buy the book. So you should buy it because the book is actually good. Don't believe these. Like, that's how I see it. I think it's a bit more cynical, but maybe you do have a point, because maybe he is so in his own world that he just cannot comprehend But the thing is, I think deep down they must know that they they don't have anything
Yeah.
really inspiring to teach. Like they must know they can't be that like
That's why they're
as much as
insecure.
they go for the mantra of like repeating things to yourself or whatever, and I'm sure they were repeating to themselves that they're good writers and they're whatever. Rachel is a good writer, but Davis is
Yeah.
not. Like he must
No.
be aware of that at this point. Like I can't imagine that he's just under the impression that he's an excellent writer and has a lot of lessons to teach. Like shut up, Dave.
I
You're
don't know.
unemployed now.
I don't know what he thinks. Sometimes I go, yeah, he must be aware, and then sometimes I'm like, I don't know. He's lived in a bubble his whole life. Who knows what he actually thinks? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think about him.
He could be that entitled as to think that he
Yeah.
is like amazing.
They both, yeah. I think they both, to a degree, believe their own garbage, and that hurts them ultimately because what they teach is to never listen to anyone but their own brain, and that's what they do. So it's like, well, maybe they both, I don't know. Who's to
They've
say?
always gave me the impression that he is that really annoying family member that goes on with like their life stories when they're drunk at
You're
like
like,
Christmas
shut
parties and stuff.
up. Yeah.
And you're just like, I've heard this like 17 times. Like, I'm so sick of it. That's how and even when, I don't know
Yeah.
if you know this part, but he and him and Heidi crashed the wedding at one point, and then Dave took the microphone and gave a speech. It
Yeah.
was like, yeah, this guy is that
Cringe.
annoying person. It was like, nobody wants,
At
these
the,
people
yeah.
didn't even know who
They were
was like
strangers.
giving a speech.
He took the mic and he was
These
like,
people-
I've had a hard year. It's like, bro, this is not the time and place to do this. This is someone's wedding. Like, stop it. Put the mic
yeah,
down.
and it's like the speeches are for the best man, for the friends, for the family of the groom and bride, not for you, somebody who just crashed the wedding. These people don't know who you are. And Heidi was like, oh my god, that was such an amazing speech. I was like just kidding. It was so cringe. I wanted to make a video, but it was just like too cringe for me that I couldn't
Yeah.
even.
I still have it too. I have it on my desk or on my one
Oh
of my
my god, should we
folders.
do a reaction to that or
Probably.
something?
Yeah. At some point we should. Wait, I have the whole
Oh,
thing.
we should do it.
I have so much stuff about Heidi and Dave that I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I don't even know what to, because it changes so often. I'm like, I don't even know what to do with this. It's like so much content. I'm like, it's a whirlwind. But I remember in that speech, he said, the people here that I just met are so much more interested in hearing me talk than my own family. I was just like,
Which is like telling.
I know, I'm like, yeah, because they haven't had to deal with you for that many hours yet, you know? Like, yikes. Don't tell people that. It's obvious that you're the problem. If your whole family's not trying to listen to you, it's probably because you don't have that many interesting things to say.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. Let's keep going.
Sad.
Let's keep hearing the defense from little Matthew.
Yeah.
And I think in that instance, all of this had occurred because I didn't think before I acted. So I was like, just trying to hold it all. And during that time, that whole week, I laid on my couch and I didn't eat. I did drink a lot and I just cried. I cried and
Are
prayed
you on
and
your
cried.
phone?
No.
So
No.
you put your phone, you said, I don't want to look at this. I don't want to do
I have
this.
never seen a single comment to that video. Not one.
Did you just delete the video?
Eventually. I didn't do it right away because it was like, I don't ever want to like make a mistake publicly and then try and like cover it up. But eventually, like 2 weeks later, I pulled it down because I was like, I don't want this to continue to go on offending people. So I wrote another apology and then I took the video down when I posted that one. But I was not on my phone. And my two best girlfriends who lived here at the time.
So what are you upset about? Just what people
Yeah,
have
that's-
told you that people are upset? So you're just like, what, secondarily upset? I don't even know what she's upset about. She doesn't even know.
Like she didn't read anything, so why is she crying on the couch? Did she say that she's getting drunk? Is that what she said?
Yeah,
Or
she's like,
she's
I
not
drank a
even-
lot and I didn't eat anything.
Because I thought I heard that, but I was like, was she talking about alcoholism here? Like what? Um,
Yeah.
but
Not
I
to do
agree.
it.
Like, what's she so upset about? Maybe they told her this is huge. You've been canceled, and she's like, oh no.
But just take their word for it, like that. You're not gonna like try to figure out, okay, how can I fix this myself? How can I do better?
Would not
No?
be able to. I would need to see what people are saying. I would just.
too. I'm
I
too
would not be
curious.
able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like because imagine that moment. It must be so like powerful. You're probably like, adrenaline kicks in. You're like, oh shit, everything's gone to shit. I would need to read what people are saying.
Yeah. And I don't think, and I know she's not saying this is advice, but like to be like, oh, I just drank a lot and like, didn't deal with it. It's like, that's how you handled this? That's not good. This is not boss babe material. This is like unhinged person material. I don't know. I know people handle stuff differently, but like, this is not a good thing to say like, oh, you should just mimic this advice, because no.
She's just upset that she lost her career.
But doesn't even know why. You don't want to understand why.
Maybe they messaged her and they're like, "This sponsor dropped us. This happened." So
but
she
she's
just
not
knows
looking
the
at her
consequences.
phone. But she's not looking at her phone either. So it's like,
I
how
think
does she
she
even know
doesn't
that?
look. I don't believe that. I think she
know.
doesn't look at the comments and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think that, if her husband and kids are calling her, I don't think that she's not looking at the phone. You know what I mean?
Well, they were divorced already, so.
Yeah.
He wasn't calling
good point.
He was on the outs already at this point. He probably was like, yeah, my comeback's happening. And then he launched into his thing, and then that flopped too.
Yeah, because I think he tried to capitalize off of that moment and just come off. He did come off initially as a good guy.
Totally.
All the worse, it makes it worse than fall, you know what I mean?
He had like all the opportunity in the world to capitalize on that, and he screwed it up. So he deserves not to be successful, because he was set up. He was like set up to like be that great dad, inspiration, mean Rachel. Oh God, everyone hates her anyways. And then he still screwed it up. It's like, come on, man. Can't spoon feed you everything.
Good point from Consciously Kayla here. How can it be worse than any other tragedy from her past if she's not reading any of it? That's so true, because she has there's some stuff in her past, like her brother, the story and all that stuff. Yeah, this is by no means worse than your brother dying.
Yeah, and even like she doesn't talk about it ever anymore. But before, when the whole storyline was about like adoption and the trials and tribulations of adoption, on the 2018 podcast that she did with them, the same exact host on the same podcast in 2018, she said, other than her brother, the two, not the twins that they adopted, but these other girls leaving from their foster care was the worst event of her life. So that's completely gone, because that storyline's over. Like, no more adoption foster care stories. Now the new stuff is like, oh, the cancellation was the hardest thing ever. She forgets like all of these hard things that she's gone through, and I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah. Or maybe she's just constantly exaggerating. Like, this is the worst.
Yeah.
Instead of actually being the worst, it's just something that she's struggling with at that point.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's like, oh, she has to make it like, okay, I'm going to relate to people how bad this was. And, like in one of her books, she said like she had this like the Bell's palsy and how bad that was, how much she struggled with that. I never hear about that anymore. She like is over that. So that's no longer a thing. So it's like, I don't know. It's just like, depending on what year we're in, it's like, that's the worst thing. I guess, no, this is the worst thing.
The last thing that happened is the worst thing.
Yeah,
always.
The most recent thing, which, I mean, makes sense, I suppose. Okay.
Kept calling, kept reaching out, like, bitch, where are you? We know you're in a cave. We know, like, we're coming. And finally ended up, they have my location on my phone. And they told me later, they tracked me every day because they thought I was just going to like go on a road trip and like leave town. And eventually just showed up at my house with food.
Looking back on this, were you nervous looking back in retrospect about your mental state at that time? Like, do you look back and think, I was in a really fragile position, or was this something where you're like, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm going to get through this?
No, I could not see light. And I'm the most optimistic person that you've ever met in your life.
And I think that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because you are like, I think of you as motivation, and you're constantly like, I feel like your platform is trying to inspire other women. For you to feel like that, to me, is very a human side of you.
It was, I have lost my older brother to suicide. I found him. I've now lost a child. I lost a baby actually the day that I was supposed to come and do this podcast the first time. Ugh. I had gone for an ultrasound and there was no heartbeat. So that's why I didn't do this with you all the first time. Yeah. But I have gone through the most horrible situations in my life. Nothing was darker than that week.
But
what?
That's what I think is crazy. It's like,
how can she say that?
I don't know.
Lauryn just gave her the thing on a freaking tray. She's like, so this makes you human. And Rachel is like, Yeah, all those things are actually not as bad as this.
It shows what she, and I hate to say this because it's like seems very judgmental and it sounds like, I don't even know if I believe it, but the way she's presenting it herself is like the hierarchy of her importance in life. Losing her career was at the top over a potential baby and her brother. That's what she's making it seem like, which I think is
She
insane.
didn't even mention the divorce here.
Yeah, or her husband, who she said was
So
her.
she listed.
And in 2018, when she did this podcast with them before, she said they asked her, "What's the most important thing in your life?" She said, "Number one, my marriage."
Oh, no. Wait, because she said this before in an interview with Ed Milet. She said,
That guy.
"I want my marriage," the extraordinary marriage thing, right?
Always, yeah.
So she said that, and then she said, "I want my marriage to be above my kids." And the guy obviously was like, "Oh, just expound on that kind of
Go
thing.
on.
Yeah, what?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, because they're gonna go and whatever, they're gonna go to college. I don't know. They're gonna start living their own life, and what I have is like my marriage, and that's why I prioritize my marriage."
Thanks.
Well. It didn't fucking take that long, and the marriage is gone.
Yeah. She said the same thing. That's funny that you brought that exact thing up because she said the same thing on this podcast last time because she said, "I value it over my kids because we need to be happy and show them that we're happy so that they're happy because if we're having issues, they're going to be affected negatively." So she said that even to these same people 4 years earlier. So that's the thing. It's like you can't take life advice from someone whose life advice changes every 5 seconds. Because then you're going to be all over the place. Like, oh, I don't know. My kids are mattering more. My husband matters more. My job matters more. It's just like always, I don't know. And also, this is a relatively newer thing. But like the fact that she gives no warning or they don't give any warning that she's going to be talking about, unaliving yourself and miscarriage. It's like a lot of people aren't like thinking that that's what's going to be discussed on this podcast. And, here we are. It's like, she kind of just throws it out there. It's like almost like that I would consider like a little bit of like a trauma dumping. Like, does the audience really need to know all of the stuff in such graphic detail? Maybe not.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyways, okay. Let's go.
Where I just kept thinking, I can't believe I did this. Like, how did you do this? How did you fuck up so badly? I was trained my whole life to be a good girl. And I never offend anybody and never make anybody mad. And I couldn't fathom how I had made a mistake like this. And the idea that so many people were mad at me and that I had hurt so many people. And it just was crazy. And
Thanks, Teresa. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was the darkest time of my entire life. And there was no like, in 2 weeks, this will all be okay. This was months. This was months and months of press about it and so much freaking fallout from that. And all of it just felt like this, it was crumbling down around me. So like this horrible experience, right? This was April of 2021. But because I really do believe that life is happening for you.
Oh my God.
There was also, I know this is going to sound crazy, but there was also freedom on the other side of that. Like, okay, your worst nightmare has happened. Literally. You have offended people. You've made this mistake. All of these things have happened. The freaking New York Times has written a giant article about what a piece of shit you are. Like, all of it's happened. Now what? Because for a decade, you've been telling people that it's okay to fail publicly. In fact, in the video, I say, like, I've failed so many times. You'll see me fail again. I didn't know that I was actually manifesting that in real time. But
it's not what she said, but okay.
I would still be trying to please everybody. I would still be trying to live into the brand that they had created for me. They would still be in control, the public, of who I am. And now, whatever you think of me, I think I hope, a lot more human.
They forced her to be the way she is. Who's they? Then she was the public.
She seems a lot more human. What?
As opposed to what? The cyborg that I believe she was previously? Like, I always thought you were human. That's why we're saying, like, yo, this is not the right take on this.
This is what she means. What she means actually is relatable.
Yeah.
I seem more relatable because of failing.
Which is what I didn't want.
But you said, my darling Rach, that you don't want to be relatable. So now suddenly that being relatable is in your favor. You want it now. Like, and somebody wrote in a comment, and I noticed it, but I think it's gone now. It's probably gone up. But anyway, she put the career above the kids.
Yeah.
She put her career above her kids. She said it's the number one thing.
Above family. Yeah, I mean, that seems to be very clear with how she's saying, like, this is the worst thing to happen. She doesn't even know what she did. She can't bear to read one comment on the post, yet it's the most devastated she's ever been in her life. It seems very odd. Seems not to quite I'm not quite comprehending like how those two things can exist at once.
And this is I don't know if I should say this, but I'm gonna say here I am saying,
but also,
Rachel seems to me, and this might just be my opinion, and I could be wrong, and I'm not a mother, so I don't have that experience firsthand, aside from me having a mother. But Rachel seems like, you know, the vast majority of women have been sort of brainwashed by society into thinking that the only thing that matters to you as a woman is having kids.
Mm-hmm.
So she did that. She had kids pretty early on. I mean, you could have them earlier at 16, sure, but okay, she had them at like 20, 21, 22.
Yeah.
And I think it's to me, Rachel seems like someone who doesn't want to be a mother, who doesn't enjoy motherhood.
She said that before. Yeah, she said that.
Really?
Yeah, she said that she's failed as she actually, okay, maybe we should listen eventually to this podcast from 2018, because she talks a lot about that. She says, you know, I felt like I was succeeding and killing it at work, and I felt like I was horrible as a mom, or I wasn't a good mom, and so I threw myself into working because I didn't feel like I was a good mom. And a lot of women relate to that because they're afraid to say it. And I'm the type of woman who puts myself, and she says in that live stream that we watched, the Instagram one where she gets all, you know, upset about the comment, she says she is her number one priority. I think that is a mindset to have that some people could really take and use, and I don't necessarily think it's wrong, but I don't think you can have it both ways, where it's like, I put myself first, I put my kids first, and I put my, you know, career first. It's like, that it doesn't exist. Like, you have to pick a tier. But she likes to appeal to everybody, so she's not offending anybody, I guess, is what she's insinuating.
I feel like, to me, it seems like, I don't know if people have ever heard this, but I've heard it a lot with older women telling younger women who are in a relationship or something that they should catch the guy.
Mm-hmm.
As in, like, maybe kind of fall pregnant or something.
Yeah.
Just
trap
sure,
him. Yeah.
Trap the guy. Yeah. Make sure that the guy is trapped. That's kind of, I've heard it a lot. Like, I don't know if maybe it's just the older women that I've interacted with. Yeah.
No.
And I feel like this is one of these cases where she, not consciously or unconsciously, she might have done that. She might have tried to trap Dave. And she did say earlier that she
sacrificed.
She sacrificed, and she thought about it early. That's what she wanted to, you know, be rich or whatever. Mm-hmm. So maybe that was her way. I'm not saying that it's something that she would have necessarily like maliciously done or something, because sometimes it's just like something that you're essentially the society that I feel like I live in brainwashes women with, because they constantly have to fight against that. I hear it all the time, even from family members, and I'm like, are you aware of what you're saying? Do you know how damaging that is? And they really think they're giving me some amazing advice, and I'm like, what?
Have you ever heard of pregnancy? It's this new thing. I'm gonna change your life in 5 steps.
What I've been told was something like, if the relationship goes on for too long, you might start to notice things. So it's better to have kids sooner. Because like, if you notice things and you want to leave, and I'm like, wait, so how would that exactly work in my favor?
Because it's worse. It's better to be with the man with problems than be alone Apparently, it's like, great, thank
No,
you.
because like once I have kids, no longer matters what the guy is and does, and like
Yeah.
I guess that's what they're trying to say. I have no idea what they're trying to say. To me, it's like very weird because I'm like, okay, so if I notice the things later, do I also want to break up and have to struggle with like raising kids by myself?
Well, at
Because
least
like
you'll get
that's
the
what it is to
alimony,
me.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know if it's a money thing or what. Like, oh, well, at least if you divorce and you have a kid, like, you get money from it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if
And
that's
it's also such a scarcity mindset because it's like, sure, but there's also other guys, if like I don't
Yeah.
need to trap this one. Like I can just
That's why I
go
can't watch The
on.
Bachelor. I'm like, they're all fighting over this dude. I'm like, do you really like him or do you just want to win? Do you just want to
Yeah,
have the
they want to
title of
win for
winner?
sure.
Yeah, and it's like, doesn't that make everything stupid and pointless for this whole show? I mean, I'm not gonna say I watch it. I've watched it before previously, but I hate watch it. Like I do this stuff. Like I consume it like probably more than anything else. But it's like I'm thinking about why it's wrong and why I shouldn't, take this advice in my own life. But I think it's one of those things. It's like it's an old school mentality where it's like women need to be supported by men. The best way to do that, to guarantee your spot, is to have a baby because then they can't leave you for something better. I have a
But
friend.
they can.
I know that's the thing. I
That's
have a
the
friend
thing
who's
that
like,
is so dumb because like they absolutely can
Yeah.
leave you anyway. So it's not like
know.
you really did something there.
I know. I have a friend.
You put yourself in a situation that's so much harder, Like,
I know. Okay, I have a friend. She got this advice from the Call Me Daddy podcast. So the fact that she listens to that, I was like, oh God. This is a friend I've had for years. She says, and this is a little vulgar, so excuse me, but she says, if you're not essing a guy's D, someone else is. I'm like, what advice is this? Like, if that's what I need to do, like, what? And she's like, that's
someone
what I
else
do.
they should have him all together. Like, I don't want him.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
the
like,
case.
that's like, what do you tell me right now? She's basically like, yeah, well, if you're not giving him what he wants, he's gonna move on. I'm like, I think I offer much more than that, but maybe that's just me, and that's, I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't get that advice, but it's very common in my world at least too. It's like this like weird
Yeah.
old school advice.
I think people, women have not stopped to ask, wait a minute, and just kind of like, not women, obviously we are women too, but like, I mean, these women speaking and saying these things, I don't think they stop to ask, okay, but what happens if I do this? What
Yeah.
are the possibilities? What are the consequences that could come from this? Either I live a miserable life with a man that doesn't love me, and I also have to raise children, or we break up and then I also have to raise children by myself, and like,
Yeah.
so they don't stop to think that way. They just suddenly are very, they've probably been hearing these things from other people too, so it's not, I don't think it's an original thought that's coming from them. I think it's something that they're being told and they kind of internalized it and they keep repeating it. But like, it's time that we stop when it comes to stuff that we've heard over and over and over again from society. It's time we stop and reconsider for a minute, like, just maybe this is traditionally what grandmothers and great grandmothers have said, but maybe this isn't good advice, even though it's like traditional and old fashioned. It might still have like real life consequences that I don't want to live with because of that advice. And I feel like it's just, this is a total tangent, I'm so sorry, but like, it's so
Dare you?
damaging, and I hate those conversations because I get really like upset with that kind of advice, and I tell them and they don't like to hear it, and they think I'm the idiot and I think they're the idiot, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, and I hate to say it too, but like, a lot of times in my life, a lot of my self-worth was like, who likes me? Who has a crush on me? Like in high school and middle school, like growing up, that was like for me, my hierarchy of like how I value myself was like, do boys in my class think I'm cute? How am I doing in school? And like, are my parents mad at me? Like, those are my three, levels. But I think that is also perpetuated somehow, either subconsciously or under the surface, where it's like, if boys don't like you, then something's wrong with you. You got to change. You got to be nicer. You got to be whatever and fix yourself. So that's I don't know. It's like I've struggled with that my whole life, and I feel like I still struggle with that, of like that being the most important thing. But I haven't found, like, the advice that these self-help people give is like not really applicable to any of those questions that I have in my life. I don't know. Now I feel like I'm going on
I
a
feel like
tangent too.
there was a TikTok saying something like, stitch this and tell me what's the thing that you scroll as fast as you can past. That is it. When I get a relationship, somebody's like, I'm a relationship coach. I'm like, I couldn't scroll faster. I'm like, don't come into my timeline. I don't want this. Like, because like every time someone is a relationship coach, they come up with like the most problematic advice that I've ever heard. And I'm like, never again. Thank you.
How can you give a relationship tip to someone when you don't know anything about the couple? It's like one tip will not go into all of this advice. You can't. It's like saying like self-help is the same as therapy. It's not, because they don't know your story. If you're going to ask someone like, what diet should I have? I don't know. Tell me about everything that's in your body. Like, I need to know very specific things about your lifestyle. Like, there needs to be like a custom package, not like, always make sure to text 3 days after the last time you've seen them, and make sure to wear a red handkerchief to show that you're powerful. It's like, give me a break.
Yeah. Brittany Dawn would be very disappointed with this non-personalized advice from these people.
She loves personalized advice. I'm struggling with an eating disorder. You go, girl. Welcome to the team. It's like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Go back and watch the Brittany Dawn episode if you want to know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, let's continue down this road. Let's do it.
Fucked up.
Well, that's what when I was younger, and this is not even near the scale and it wasn't public, I had a lot of success, right? I started making more money than I thought I could make. It was fast, it was quick. And I shared this story, during that time, I became a total prick, total asshole. I had like a midlife crisis, but in my 20s.
I can vouch for that.
and the reason being is like, you start, like you set out in life and you envision like hopefully what success, at least to you, is going to look like. And then it starts happening and it goes further than what you thought it would be. And you start to feel invincible. You're like, this is going to continue forever. I'm the best person ever. I'm smarter than everyone. Like I have financial means, and you start to kind of like, you become this version of yourself that like is an overinflated ego. It like pushed away a lot of the people that were closest to me, started attracting the wrong type of people that shouldn't have been in my life and that were there for the wrong reasons. And like, I ended up almost completely crashing and burning financially during that situation, and a bunch of other things. And it was like a real introspective moment to be like, oh shit, like I'm not all these things, and this is not the end all be all. But the reason I bring this up is during that time, nobody could have told me anything. And I wonder, like, if somebody would have come to me like, yo, man, like, take it easy. I'd be like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, look at me. Look how great my life is. I wonder if any of that's also playing into this as you're posting and as you're going, because you're speaking to 20,000 people. Right. Financially, you're going.
The answer is yes. That's not the answer she gives, though.
Charge. Books are everywhere. Like, does that start to be like, it's like an overinflated sense of self, because that's the version that everyone thinks of you. It's reinforcing.
So I definitely... ego, I don't mean ego in terms of like egomaniac. I mean ego in terms of like whatever we perceive ourselves to be. I never felt like, oh, I'm so cool, or like I'm such a badass, or any of it, because truthfully, that whole experience, 18 and 19, was very overwhelming for me. So overwhelming. I love getting to work with women. I love doing conferences. It's super badass that many people want to buy a ticket. Like, that makes me feel cool. I love that my kids see that. Like, they're like, wow, look at mom. Like, she does this thing. But mostly I feel overwhelmed by the success or the money or any of it. So that wasn't playing into my head as much. I know exactly why that happened, because believe me, I have analyzed this from every angle. I was angry. And whenever you take action from a place of anger instead of a place of love.
Angry about?
I was angry about about the people who were making comments on the live stream, because I got this idea for this video from that experience. I was angry about that. And truthfully, I was angry about, there's a lot of therapy coming through, guys. I had held it all together. Yeah. I had a company of 60 employees at the beginning of 2020, and we did conferences. And that's not something that can happen inside of a pandemic. So I had held it together. I worked so hard to make sure people were employed, that our vendors got paid, that we didn't like relinquish on anything that we owed. I had gone through this divorce and was like destroyed in the world for getting a divorce. I was working to take care of my kids, to pay off my ex-husband, to do all of this stuff. And I felt like I am keeping all of this afloat, and there's so much pressure, and it's only me. And in that moment, I was like, this is going to make me emotional. It's so stupid. But I was like, the one thing that I have is this sweet woman who has been with me forever, by the way, who comes to my house twice a week and helps me to clean. I have the kids. I'm by myself. And this is like this one thing that I have. Like, I've made sure that all of these employees have jobs and health insurance and 401ks. And we eventually would end up having to do layoffs because you just can't hold 60 employees and you can't do a conference. But I was so angry, not at the comments, but they were like, Wayne Dyer has this quote that I love.
Okay. And she goes into this quote that she uses 25
This
times a day.
is awful. Like, this part,
This is
it's
the
just-
climax of the whole podcast.
yeah, this is the absolute worst thing. So she had everything. Literally, she had money, she had a family, she had a husband, she had employees, she had friends, she had nothing. Like, she missed nothing. And yeah, she was working hard, but she had everything. She didn't have, you know what I mean? Like, what was she missing?
She had too much. It was too much. It was overwhelming.
She
She
had
needs
too
less
much.
things.
Yeah, she really did have too much. And for her to suddenly, like, when she's being held accountable for something, to say the only thing I had was the cleaner. Are you joking? What about the kids? What about the friends? What about the employees? What about all the, the books you wrote, all the people that love? What about
No.
all those people? The only thing was the cleaning.
All
Really?
she had was Sherry, and Sherry cleans the toilets. Therefore, Sherry is the only thing holding this all together. Yeah, and it's like, I said that too. I'm like, if that's true, which I don't believe it's true, because that's garbage. It's like some sort of, I don't know what, like desperate attempt to make herself seem like, oh my God, I'm like, it was like such a hard season for me, whatever. Why would you equate her to a toilet bowl cleaner twice in the 60 seconds if that was the only person that you had to trust, or the only thing that was positive in your life at that moment? And in that Instagram, someone asks, how are you doing? And she says, I'm great. I am so great. We have so many exciting things coming up. I'm doing amazing. So that this is all lies. It was only Sherry that came that was like giving her any sort of benefit.
And I'm sure that COVID hitting is probably not great for any company, but
course.
COVID hitting also has hurt people, like normal people who don't have financial freedom, who don't have any money, who actually relied on their jobs. They got fired. So many jobs were lost, and then so many people had to struggle even when they did have a job and they were working from home, but they had to both like take care of the kids at the same time because the kids were studying school from home. So I spoke to a woman who was working at BBC, and she said that it was really hard for her to work from home because the kids are home constantly, and it's always on the shoulders of the woman. Let's be honest, like the man doesn't feel any pressure to take care of the kids during the day, even if he works from home.
They're babysitting.
So, the woman, she's not just having to do one job now; she has to do also two jobs: the job of being a mother at the same time as doing a job that is difficult. That is requires some thinking and like effort, and so it's kind of like there's people who actually had it hard, and like I mean, I don't know if this was completely like, I don't know if this was related to COVID, but like I had more time because I wasn't getting any freelance opportunities because the TV industry took such a hit in COVID that the broadcasters that I was working with no longer were hiring like beginners, I guess, or like people who were like up and coming and stuff like that. And I was part of them. And they only wanted to work with like very established companies and to make like 3 documentaries that were all archived. So basically, I didn't have those opportunities, and that's why I started making more and more YouTube videos. That's the reason I actually had more time on my hands. When basically, there's people who really just had to, like, were hit. You who are financially independent and don't have a worry in the world, sure, your company is hit, but like, I'm sorry, the vast majority of people watching were hit worse than you.
Yes, 1,000,000%. And she did conferences. And, during the pandemic, I, as a videographer, had gone to in-person conferences. I had worked on virtual conferences. So a lot of companies actually saw growth because now they tapped into this whole market of people who didn't want to spend the money to travel that would now have the hybrid option, and they weren't spending money on other conferences. So they spent the money on these conferences that were virtual. So the fact that she says like no company has survived because of COVID that does conferences is just not true. Maybe for like the first month, but not overall. Most companies actually had grown from, not most, I should say. The ones that I've dealt with, they were shocked. They were like, we always thought about going virtual, but this pushed us towards that faster. Plus they had PPP loans to have them like at least try to like attempt these things, put some money behind it to switch up their cameras and do the virtual stuff. So it's not really a fair excuse. What changed and what got her staff let go, I think, is because she could not recover from this snafu that she did. This whole thing is what caused the meltdown, but she can't admit that, because then she would admit that her own selfishness caused the demise of 60 employees within her company, or 40, or however many she had at the time. And that's just too hard, too big of a pill to swallow, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what she means here is like she was experiencing frustration because she was on such a high, and she would have probably loved to keep growing and to keep getting, more and more money and to get to the mogul. She was seeing herself as like, okay, I'm on track for my tattoo to turn reality.
Yeah.
So basically, suddenly she was stopped in her tracks. But sure, COVID was part of it. But that's why people don't, when people build companies, at least the very few, I worked in like small indie companies in TV in Scotland. They tend to be quite small, like production companies over there. They're like, they could be anything from 5 people to 20 people, or like, but it's small. It's small people. So a small company, sorry. And they are in it for the long term. They know that lots and lots of the ideas that we were trying were probably gonna get rejected and whatever. But I didn't hear any of them be like, "I'm doing this to become a mogul." Like,
Yeah,
I'm sure that money is a motivation, but like, it's never something I heard from them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's just like the chest puffing. Like that's just, it's like when someone's insecure about, is this gonna last? They say like, well, I'm gonna just like manifest it to happen. But as we know, that's not reality. Everyone's saying, by the way, that we need to keep playing it because there's like the cringe continues, which we're all about here. So
Yeah.
we'll play the rest because this was like, like you said, the climax is right here.
Says, when you squeeze an orange, you never get lemon juice. When something's under pressure, when something's squeezed, what is inside of it will come out. And I realize now, so angry about having to hold all of this, and had held all of this for so many years, that it was like someone poked, it was the exact right thing of like poking how I had help to be able to do all of these things and take care of 4 kids by myself. And that was just the straw that broke the camel's back. But when we're in pain, or when we have those emotions, your ego is going to turn it into like, or my ego turned it into like, well, I'm going to clap back at you. So I was angry when I made the video. And if you put something out from a place of anger, you're going to get anger back. So I own it all, and I've done all the fucking therapy. But that's the whole picture of what was happening. And I don't say that to make an excuse, but I would argue that there is no human being who's, unless you've lived through it for years, like you're a celebrity and you've done it for 30 years or something, who knows how to process all of those big feelings.
Okay.
It's helpful right now because
There's no person who knows how to process those big feelings. Is she for real? Does she think that everyone's like her?
I think she thinks everyone that's not her is like sitting at home eating bonbons, as they say back in the day, collecting like welfare checks or something, because we don't believe that we have a dream big enough to be like Rachel, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, the thing is, I don't know. I feel just oranges don't make lemon juice. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, maybe if
Everybody
you
write
squeeze
this
an orange,
down.
you might get like oranges. Did it occur to Rachel?
She's got weird quotes, man. She's got life happens 3U. Lemons don't make
Yeah.
orange juice. Like, okay, this is really helpful information.
And so
Uh,
she was angry, so she manifested anger. Is that what she thinks?
well, that's if you remember from when she did her marathon recently with no training.
Yeah.
Okay. She said the first marathon she did it from a place of anger, fear, because she wanted to prove herself. But the second one she did from love. Therefore, she did it without training. It's like, okay.
What?
Yeah, that was out of love. I don't know.
She sounds like a senile old woman right
Yeah,
now.
I ran for love this time. If I would have put a, yeah, it's like if you're angry and you say something rude, you're probably gonna get people who are offended by that. I think that's a fairly, obvious thing.
I
But
like that. She's just. Sorry, what are you gonna say?
I was gonna
Something?
say, I was like, she, this is her trying to explain why she was so angry because she had everything that she dreamed of. So therefore, of course, she's angry. It's like I don't get it. I don't understand.
But because you had everything you ever dreamed of, maybe the anger should be less than
Maybe.
when you didn't have anything. Um, I don't know. I think when you don't have anything and you only have one thing and that fails, I can imagine like the frustration, the anger, the everything, because you had that one thing. Like this woman is her only one thing.
Sherry.
It's such a coincidence that the woman she got canceled for is the one thing she had. Okay,
I
but
agree.
when you have everything, maybe when let's say you have 1,000, you're a kid and you have 1,000 toys, maybe just losing one is not like the end of the world.
That's exactly the point that I always try to make. It's like, okay, if Rachel Hollis loses $1,000, yeah, it might hurt, it might be annoying, but she's not going to be out on the street. If someone who has $1,000 to pay their rent and they lose it, that is a life-changing event. And you can't compare those two and go, well, I lost $1,000 too. It's like, yeah, but the consequences of losing that money is very different for her versus someone who's about to walk into the rental office and give their, monthly check, and now they have nowhere else to get the money from. And that's where I think like people like Rachel Hollis and these self-help people try to like equate themselves like, I was in debt. It's like, yeah, but your husband was making 7 figures a year, so if you failed, he would just pay it off for you. You move on with your life. For someone like, I'm assuming you and I, or someone even of lesser means than us, if you were to take out a $40,000 loan and fail, you may never ever recover from that. So just to go back to my whole rant about it's not equatable, it's not like relatable. It's like you can't tell people to take risks in life and do what I did because you don't have the financial security to back it up. That's it.
Yeah, and that recent Rach Talk episode she posted, and even in some of the recent podcasts, she does tend to jump right back into telling people what they should do. And
Totally.
I'm constantly taken aback by it because I'm like, you you're not in a like at this point you cannot tell people what they should do because
What
if they
not to
do what
do.
you if they do what you say they're gonna end up there and they don't want to be canceled like you and not, like having to go through all this and having the entire planet hate on them.
Yeah. But she
And
still,
it's like,
even with that, she still has more authority than you do. She's still better than you in the sense of like, well, even though I'm like at this lower point, my lower point is still way above you,
I
idiot,
can still give
watching.
you advice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still qualified because like my qualifications are like being me, so therefore I'm always gonna be above you.
Yeah, oh, reach is just the gift that keeps on giving.
Rach?
Reach.
Okay, well, she's gonna talk about what's next, and basically what she's been offering us, her viewers, so far has been much of the same. She has podcasts where she gives advice about, now spirituality stuff, but still it's advice for women. Her Rach talks are about her life and giving advice to women. And that's it. That's all she's done. And she's like, I don't want to do that anymore. But then yet continues to push content out that is exactly what she's been doing, just with a tiny twist. Barely enough to even notice, to be quite honest. Anyways, okay.
Beekeepers Naturals is offering you an exclusive offer. Go Beekeepers Natural. Well, we're not made for that. I mean, if you look at our evolution. We're
Right.
not made for that. It's a lot of
made
opinions
for
chiming in.
more.
And then there's groupthink of people who don't even know you chiming in to the fan base. So
Right.
it's a lot happening.
Right.
What have you done and where do you even start to do the work? Like for me, if that happened to me, I don't know. Like, I guess I would pick up a book, I'd
Right.
listen to a
Books,
podcast.
yeah.
I'd call a friend. What did you do? And what are those tools? And you said you're a completely different person now. Like what have you been doing?
So the irony is that my best friend, her job is literally teaching white people how to not be assholes. So she does racial reconciliation and awareness. She goes into huge corporations and teaches them. Like,
Can you shout her out? Or is it private?
yes. No,
Okay,
Beans.
okay.
And most people know Beans, but Beans Barron, you can find her on Instagram. She's an author. She's amazing. So the irony of that is pretty extreme, that this is literally my best friend. And we've been doing, like, we've had her come into my company twice. Like, she's trained, like, we can all make mistakes. So she was the first person that I asked, okay, I'm a fucking idiot. Okay, what do I need to read or read again? So I got a list of books from her that I worked my way through. And that was the last that I asked other people, because one of the things I was very conscious of, this is a thing that especially white women do a lot, is ask Black women how they can be doing better. So they're like, tell me what I should read. Tell me. It's like, fuck you, Google it, because you're making them,
You're putting the burden on
you're
them.
putting the burden on them, like your education. And I only ask because I am in relationship with this person and she is so close to me. So I started reading books. And
Is there one that stood out to you or is there a couple?
again, I never actually saw anyone's comment, but I heard later, I ended up reading her book, and I heard later that she was one of the people who actually, her comments were like, hey, everyone's a dumbass, like, until they learn. And so she wasn't like, fuck this person. She was like, hey, here's how you did this wrong.
I was thinking too,
Wait.
you're in a very difficult position during all of this.
Didn't she just ask about a book? Is that like bad editing there, or?
That's what I thought too, but she brings it up. She's gonna bring it up now because he kind of takes it and like assumes she diverted the question, but she actually did want to say, she was saying that the author of the book that she read actually was someone who commented on her post. Even though she hasn't seen it, she heard that this author who she ended up ultimately reading her book was one of the people who said like, oh, I don't know, like Rachel's not a bad person. She just didn't learn yet, I guess. But yeah, I thought the same thing too when I listened to the first time. I'm like, wait, did they cut something here that I'm missing? But then she brings it up later. But the whole point is like, she's saying like white women, as if she's not one, but white women ask Black women to, educate them. It's like, yeah, okay. And I've heard that too. Like take the,
No, but I know that she's not privileged at all. Like,
yeah. When she's like, so I did that, but it's okay because I'm friends with a Black woman. It's like, oh, so other white women don't have Black women friends. So if they're friends with them, it's okay. You just don't ask Black strangers. It's like, I don't know.
no, she has two best friends who are both Black. She's just better than you. You might have just one.
True. I mean, I already know that. Like, that's not debatable.
Yeah,
she's
mean,
above.
obviously.
I mean, me and Rach,
Yeah.
not even comparable.
Maybe we should try taking Rachel's advice,
Yeah.
basically to get ourselves canceled. Maybe we'll know how to
No.
apologize better. I don't know.
Don't cancel us, please.
Please don't cancel us, guys. I'm
I
kidding.
can't deal with it. I have to eat. I have to walk. I can't. All those things I have to think about. My cat needs to be pet. I just can't handle it. So I can't add cancellation on top of that.
Yeah, please don't add cancellation. Like, we literally only have this.
I won't read any of the criticism, but I'm sure I'll be deeply affected and hurt by it.
I will drink a lot.
Yeah. I'll be drunk every day
I'll have a massive party.
for no reason. But I can understand.
The canceled party.
Cancel culture, calamity. I'm trying to think of a word for party that sounds
This will be
Z.
taken out of context if we get canceled. They'll be like, look what they said.
Look at them.
They will take those 30 seconds and they will go viral on like a T channel.
They said this and nothing else. This is all they posted and said that whole day. Okay, let's keep going.
Because at the time, at least I think for many women, you're the poster child for a woman who's supposed to have it all together, right?
Right.
Like you are speaking to women and educating women and inspiring women to be these great versions of themselves, right? And so it's like, if you're not all of those things, I think people are going to be much harsher on you than they
Right.
would be on somebody who hasn't chosen a career in that lane.
Right.
Fairly.
Well, and I also think that there's a preconceived notion, if you don't know my brand, if you're not familiar with the work, that you maybe it would be easy to think, oh, it's sort of like a lifestyle influencer or whatever. And really, if you've read my books, listened to podcasts, heard me speak, I'm the queen of like, I suck. Here's all the ways I'm messing up. I'm trying to fix it. Here's what I'm doing. But if you were just looking from the outside in, you maybe would have a different perception. So I do want to say this book because it was really great. I'm Still Here by Austin Channing Brown, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness. So I had that book on my nightstand for months. Someone had sent it to me and I hadn't read it yet. And so it was.
Someone sent it to her. She didn't even take the step to order this book for herself. Someone sent it to her and she eventually read it.
Lovely.
That was the end part. So that was the continuation of the first part where she kind of was staggered. But I was going to make a point about what she just said previously. There's so much stuff I forget. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I don't know what to say. I'm just a bit like, so she only decided to read the book when she got canceled?
Yeah, because she wanted to be better.
So what about
but she doesn't even know what she did wrong still, so I don't know what she's fixing, but...
What about during the Black Lives Matter movement? Was that not a good time
No.
for her to read that book that was sent to her for free? And it was on her nightstand right there for her to see it?
No.
I don't think it was on the nightstand.
It's probably in the treasure chest of free stuff or something. Oh, okay, I know what I was going to say. That's bullshit what she said about like, oh, if you're unfamiliar, you might think I'm like a lifestyle influencer, but really I just talk about all my problems all the time. No, she doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
She would say my past problem that I have solved with this, tip, with this meditation, with this mantra, with whatever she's come up with. Dave and I have had this issue 10 years ago, but we fixed it by going on dates every Thursday and blah, 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 blah. She always had a solution to every problem she had in the past, which gave her the credibility to give the advice to somebody else. Just because you admit that you have problems in the past does not mean you're being vulnerable, especially if you've said you've solved it. That's, if anything, saying how strong you are, that you've accomplished this thing that you've struggled with in the past. So there's no vulnerability there for me at all. And to say that that's her brand, that she's got so many issues, it's never that she's had issues in the past and that she's overcome them because she's better than everyone else. That's my take.
I always think of this content of like how to get through a difficult one, like, stuff like that, content like that. And Rachel is just, top of the SEO on this. I always think of it, it's like you are running out of ideas.
Yeah.
You don't know what to say. You don't know what videos to make. And I am running out of ideas right now, you guys. So it's a relatable feeling to run out of ideas. I understand that. But I feel like they try to turn everything into a life lesson. So they would make a video about, so this happened, and I'm turning this into a video because I have no content. But then it's like all sorts of crap that makes no sense, all sorts of things that are not important or that are not actually lessons or that you should not necessarily listen to. It's just something that happened or whatever. And I feel like that's Rachel's content.
Yeah.
And
routine.
it's never, because I think she thinks of it. She's a businesswoman to me. Like, I don't see her as vulnerable at all. I think what she thinks is, how do I make this a story to be told? So how you say it's a story is I started in this point, I did this to progress or to solve the issue, whatever, and I came to this conclusion. You want to have the 3-part narrative, right? And basically, I think this is what she does. But from there to really be vulnerable, this would be a great time to be vulnerable right now and just really show that you can be vulnerable, because that what she showed before, the fact that she posted a picture with like scratch marks, that was an accident. That was an accident that it went viral. It wasn't.
Stretch marks.
her-
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't. She didn't post that with like. You never know when you go viral. That's not something you will be able to predict. So it's not like she posted that and be like, "This is the time I'm going viral, and should I make it like what?" That was just the post.
Yeah. And
That was it. That she was comfortable sharing. That's not vulnerable, really.
No, and the whole thing about that too is like, that post is what really propelled her forward into like selling books and getting more people to watch her stuff. But number one, in that picture, and let me bring it up because it's in today's standards, it's like embarrassing almost how like skinny she is and like how normal she
Yeah,
looks and
she
how
was
she's
so
being
skinny.
vulnerable by showing herself pretty thin in a bikini, and also then saying like, well, my stretch marks are from my children. It's like not all stretch marks come from bearing children, so it's not like you even have the honor of saying, well, it gave new life to the world, so therefore I'm worthy of having these stretch marks. And it's like she's also like on the beach with her husband on a vacation in Hawaii, so it's like I don't know. It's like I think today this would never be what happened to it. It was the right place, right time, and she like capitalized on it several times. She had like this is her own
Agree.
blog. Like she looks normal, like a
She
normal
looks
person.
fabulous. She
Yeah.
looks great.
It's
Sure, I do believe that it comes from pregnancy because she had like 3 kids. So I'm assuming that, being pregnant 3 times and your skin stretching so much, like probably
But is this
does that.
bravery? Like, is this being brave? To me, I say no. I mean, yes, at the time, maybe it's like, okay, people are going to see what I actually look like, and that concerns me or whatever. But it's like,
It was the way she wrote the description, being like, "I was not gonna post this picture," but then, she made it a
yeah.
sub story. That's what I'm trying to say. She's good at like spinning a story. She's good at like making a story out of pretty much anything. Like Rachel with makeup stories. That's the
Yeah.
same exact. The life advice. She will make that a story or whatever, and sometimes it's just garbage stuff that happened to her, and like,
Yeah.
but she will present it in a way like I
Learn from this.
surmounted, like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I never think of myself like constantly to just be like, oh my God, so this morning I wasn't gonna wake up, but then I woke up and had a shower. I surmounted my depression so hard.
You
Like, you
could do it
guys,
too.
you can also wake up and have a shower. Like, okay.
But it sells, I guess. I mean, it worked for her, but like, I think it's
And I
like,
mean,
I think what happened to her happened in a vacuum, as Dave would say, in the middle of an onion, inside of a vacuum, is where
inside
Rachel.
of an onion.
That's what he said. That that's where this happened. Like this 2010 to 2015. Well, I guess 2010 to 2018 vacuum of time in which like hustle was really popular and skinny doesn't or food never tastes as good as skinny feels. Like these types of things were like really popular and becoming mainstream until we got to the point where we're like shifting the other way. The pendulum shifted the other way. And now it's like toxic positivity is not good for you. And it's such a small period of time where this was popular. Like this post could get you viral. It's like she had her moment and now she could not sustain it past that. And I don't think she's ever going to come back from it. That's what I think happened. I think
Yeah.
this is an anomaly. I think this is like a thing that happened. She got lucky in a lot of ways. Again, like she just hit at the right moment, but unless she evolved, which she seems not to be able to do, it was never going to last no matter what. Whether she was canceled or not, I don't think her brand was going to make it much longer, in my opinion.
And I also think that this was something like I don't know if this is true, but the way I see it is this went viral, and then publications started to pick up the story and post a story about it, and they or people in the comments must have called her authentic. And then she took that. It probably came up a lot. It
Yeah.
probably like lots of people were like, "Oh, this is so authentic. This is so
Yes,
authentic,"
queen.
because
Yeah.
like God forbid you have any fat or any stretch. Like I don't understand where that comes from. Like people
Yeah.
and never like I don't know why do we think that everyone is just so perfectly skinny? Because like I've never seen anyone that perfectly skinny. Like there are some people, but they all have flaws. They all like have like a body. You know what I mean? And whenever they are perfect, it's because they had like implants, they had liposuctions, they had everything, and it starts to look artificial when somebody is completely perfect. It doesn't look
Yeah.
real. And um, I feel like this is something she heard a lot in when this happened. So since then, she has run with the word authentic, and she has just kept pushing it because the people said it initially. But the reality of the situation is every single video that she posted has always been curated, has always been like she always looks like a badass. She always looks like even when she's like not wearing makeup or something, she's like not wearing makeup with Tony Robbins or like you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
She brings attention to it. Yeah. She
It's
explains
never
why.
just authentic and real. It's always glamorous in one way or at least so it looks to me. And I have been watching pretty much for a while, so for a couple of years now, pretty much everything she's posted. And I never see anything authentic, even when she's like constantly like dancing in videos and trying to like hype up the vibe or whatever. Like I see it as so fake. It's like you're
It
trying
is.
so hard.
Yeah, it is. I think that's exactly what it is. And she's like, "I'm so positive. I'm the most positive person you've ever met." I don't find that. This whole podcast, she
Like,
hasn't been like overtly positive. She's been kind of like not negative, but she's only positive when it comes to her image and like what she's learned. Like, "Oh, I've done everything. I'm so great." That's the positive spin, but on the rest of the world, not so much. Neutral or nothing. Like, I don't know. She
and
thinks
she,
of
it's
herself
like
as this stuff.
nobody
Yeah.
cares either. Like
Yeah, no one
showcasing
really
your positive.
cares.
Good for you. Like I don't
The
care.
only reason someone likes that post of the stretch marks is because it makes them feel more comfortable with themselves. Like, look, I'm
Yeah.
like that, or I have something like that, or I'm worse. And like the fact that this woman's posting a photo, that makes me feel good. But no one really cares at the end of the day about Rachel. No one cares about us, me and you on this, platform, really. Like, because you can't, because you're not in our brains all day. Like, human beings can't possibly go empathize with every single person and care about them and their journey and whatever. We don't have the capacity. We're caring about ourselves. But yeah, can you take something that someone else does and relate it to your life? Yes, exactly. That's what all this self-help crap is. But it's like when she tries to say like, well, no one cared about me, or no one cared about me. It's like, yeah, but you were also getting paid for your advice, so therefore you were compensated for putting yourself out there.
I would argue loads of people cared about her, and I think this is really just painful. Like I just don't, I don't know personally anyone, but I just don't want to even imagine someone who paid so much money for her conferences and just hear all this crap. Imagine all these people, for example, who were in MLMs, all the women that she told to work harder, to hustle, hustle, hustle. And then in her book, she wrote something like, "Don't be dumb and buy a surrogate." Like,
Yeah, I know.
there's just so many things that I feel like you do end up caring. Like it's not the same as in real life when you are attached to someone and you have a friendship. It's not the same, but it is to some extent still important. And lots of people are alone, and especially with COVID and stuff, like the only thing we really had was the internet. And
Yeah.
um basically I do think I do get attached to some of the YouTubers that I watch, and but I never really feel like, okay, they owe me or like
Yeah.
nothing like that. But I just feel like, oh, I miss Catherine, or I miss, like, Monica Church, for example. I watch her. Please, guys, don't tell me she's problematic or anything. I don't think she is. I would know at this point. But
Yeah.
anyways, there's just like people that I care about. So if they had a conference and I was to go and pay like 3 grand to go, plus my flights, plus my hotel or something, and then they turned out to say, oh, people who are like on YouTube, like you, oh, so lame. Like, don't be stupid. Don't be on YouTube. Or
Yeah.
stuff like that. Or people who, things that I've done or things that I care about, I would be like so hurt. I would be so hurt deeply,
Yeah.
and I just, because when it comes from someone that you also care about, and when you watch people on YouTube, you tend to know a lot about their life because you've watched them for so long,
Sure.
and they've gone through life changes and whatever. So you kind of have you have a story, you have a narrative that on those people. Sure, it's the one that they fed you because they posted those videos, and you don't know everything, but you know a lot. And it hurts when it comes from someone you know like that.
Yeah.
I would say, and I would say a lot of people were hurt by Rachel. A lot of women in particular.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe I see it less so in that way because it's like, well, even knowing Rachel, it's really a reflection of you at the end of the day because you're relating to her on some level. So it's really about taking care of like your issues. That's why you're there. You're not to like praise her unless she becomes a cult leader in which you're there to like worship her. It always relates to you in some way. So I kind of take it
Yeah.
from that angle. But yeah, if you get to know the person, you're spending all these hours with them, this time with them. They're not spending it with you. You're spending it with them, or vice versa. Like you're watching them and hearing about their lives, but they have no idea who you are. It's hard to go, well, this they really knew each other because they didn't. That's
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Anyways, I know.
But
Sorry, go
most
ahead.
times, like Rachel would I've seen videos of her do this. Like she would hug people, she would act like she knew them and stuff like that. That's where I find it really fake because
Yeah.
she doesn't.
Me too.
Like, yeah, it's a good vibe and what all that stuff, but sometimes like you can tell when someone's being fake. You can just like, it kind of alerts
I
some
hate
sort of
it.
neuron in your head, and it's like you see it. You see when it's a fake smile, and I see it with Rachel in so many videos where I think when she's in those situations with those conferences, to her it's a money grab. That's what I think.
Totally. I
It's a
agree.
money grab, and she cannot wait for it to be over. That's what
I
I
agree.
think.
I agree. She likes being on
Oh no,
stage, but that's it.
maybe that's it. Maybe
Yeah.
she enjoys the glamour and the attention and stuff like that. But I think when it's like behind the scenes and when people want to talk to her and whatever, I think she can't wait to get it over with. That's my obviously, you guys, I've never been to one of her conferences, but when I see videos from behind the scenes and stuff like that, that's the vibe I'm getting from her.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, let's continue.
Before I jumped into Beans's books that she told me about, I picked this one up and I started reading it. And more than anything, that book gave me a different perception than I had had about what it felt for, like, what she's experienced in her life, in the workplace, in school, growing up. That as much as I've heard my friends talk about, it just was a different thing and something clicked for me. Like, yeah, if you have been experiencing this your whole life and some dumbass white chick gets on Instagram and says these things, yeah, that's offensive. But I just like, it helped me to process what had happened.
Before this happens, you get a divorce.
Right.
Which is like even more pressure because I feel like so many people went to you guys as a couple.
Right.
How do you even deal with that? That's a whole, that's
Like you
like,
guys were both front facing.
Right. So,
I mean, I actually like, because I run a podcast with Michael, that is a lot.
right. So that, I mean, it's just all these things stack, right? This, COVID and the divorce and then the business changing, just all of it stacking on top of each other.
Like almost happening is just as fast, but in the reverse way is the success,
yeah.
right? It's like,
So that was a wild experience.
Little Dave.
Going through a divorce is fucking brutal. I don't care. It's so awful and hard. But what was so unbelievable to me was I could not fathom how many women attacked me for like, how dare you? You said till death do us part. You made vows. Nobody was upset with him, but everybody was upset with me.
Don't get any ideas, motherfucker.
oh, really? But do you think that's also in part because you guys had, created a business where, you're giving relationship advice?
Yeah, but
on
why
a
aren't they
podcast?
mad at him?
Right.
No, I listen.
And if you listen to our relationship advice, if you listen to our podcast, we talked about problems all the time. Here's what we were struggling with. Here's this issue. And we had very publicly said for 5 years, we had been working on something that ultimately would be the thing that destroyed us. And I couldn't believe, because I'm managing the pain of my children, all of this happening inside of COVID. So like, how do I move out? I had never, and I met him when I was 18. I'd never been an adult by myself. It was so much. And then it was also like, oh, all these people are super pissed because you're not an example of a good wife. And that's what they wanted you to be.
There is an interesting.
No one wanted her to be
Sorry.
that. No one wanted her to be the perfect wife. How does she know that no one criticized Dave because she doesn't read comments. So how does she know that? I'm sick of her saying this. I think Consciously Kayla said the same thing, that women are just bashing her and everyone loves Dave. It's like Dave has got
I think
his
men bashed her too.
yeah. Well, it's like she was the one, and Dave was like the add-on at the end. He came in at the end to be CEO and whatever, and he has a role to play in this for sure. But she was the one pushing on her social media. She was the front-facing person before he got involved. Dave and I have an exceptional marriage. Dave and I do this. I put my husband first. My husband. He wasn't talking publicly back then. So she's the one who started it, and I think she saw money because she said, okay, well, I'm affecting women. I want to add men to the mix because men and women equal double the money, so I gotta have men involved. Let me bring this guy who is, my husband into the fold, and then we can make more money. That's what I think happened.
And what she just said here really makes me think of someone who you're talking to, you're trying to tell them something, and they are telling you some sort of story, they're ranting at you or whatever, and what you're saying doesn't register with them. Or they purposely ignore what you're saying because they don't want to address it. So it's kind of like Yes, Rach. Yeah, we heard you. You said this multiple times. But here's what we're saying. We're not mad at you for getting a divorce. We're mad at you for selling tickets to a conference about giving people marriage advice and potentially ruining people's marriages when you and Dave were not doing okay in your marriage. That's what we're upset about. We're not upset that you got a divorce. If you had gotten a divorce and there was no marriage conference and people didn't pay like up to $2,000 per ticket to go there
Yeah.
to take advice from you that was potentially damaging to their own relationships, nobody would have a problem with you getting a divorce.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the people who are really religious and like are against this, sure, but
That's small.
you didn't just get backlash from that. You got backlash from everyone for this. You
Yeah.
didn't just get backlash from the religious people here. You got backlash. I'm not religious at all. I mean, you're
Same.
getting so much backlash from me. Like,
Yeah, rightly so. And I think it shows just how belittling they are to their audience. And I say that because they think, so I'm equating the two, Dave and Rachel believe that their relationship is so much better than yours that they, even in the midst of struggling for 5 years, on the verge of divorce for all that time, still can give you advice that's better than what you're doing in your stupid relationships. That's how overly inflated their egos are, that even on the brink of divorce, they still have something that you should be learning from them because they're so much higher up than you. That's where I go. That's why people are offended.
I would really like her to tell us how to make money, but really tell us how to make money, not to sell me a course and tell me nothing in the end.
Yeah.
Because I think she was good at making money. As for everything else, as for being a good
Short
wife
term.
and being a good mother and all, I have no idea, but I would not take advice from her now for that. And UD says here, how does she still not get it? The problem is she does get it, but she is deflecting. She's manipulating. She's like manipulating the audience by saying, this is what the problem is. People have a problem with you because they're religious and they can't believe I divorced Dave. That's not the problem, Rach. I don't know if that's a straw man. I have no idea how.
Yeah, it's a straw man. It's like taking one
It's a
part
straw
of
man,
it,
right?
yeah, and just
You're misquoting the criticism so that you can have a response.
Yeah.
She gets it. She knows.
She gets it. And she also gets that what she said was offensive with the toilet cleaner, because if she didn't get it, she would say, what's the problem with calling someone the woman who cleans my toilets? What's the problem with that? She never, ever repeats that about the toilet. When she said toilet once, she never said it again after the backlash came. So she does get it. She acts like she doesn't, but she says, oh, my house cleaner, specifically house. And that's the big problem that everyone had. If it's your house cleaner, call her a house cleaner. Don't say the lady who comes and cleans my toilets. That was the issue. And she's never said toilet again from that point forward. So she's aware. She's just acting stupid. So she tries to, play this like a fawning, like, oh, little girl needs help. Like, oh, I'll help this little child. And it's like, whatever. I don't think that's a good strategy at all, but that's what she's gone with. And that's what she's hoping people will take pity on her, that she's just so, ditzy or whatever. But it's disappointing. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, let's keep going.
And I feel like I can say this. Well, I'm going to say it anyway. I think a lot of men are always surprised at how vicious women can be to each other.
Yeah.
Men don't really do that to each other. And again, this may be like kind of a sexist statement, but it's just from my experience, that's been the experience. Men get in fights and they're like, whatever, you might say something, you might have a little fight, whatever, and you move on. Women really try to tear down a lot of other women.
Yeah.
And I think that at the same time, there's a lot of women that support, many women, but like, it's sometimes the attacks are visceral and they're violent, and it's interesting to observe from an outside, because on one hand, you're a brand that's uplifting women and speaking to all these women, but on the other hand, you're now on the receiving end of thousands and thousands of women trying to tear you down.
Right.
And I think a lot of men get confused because they're like, what's the message here?
Right. Well, I think
also Tony Robbins this is like such a polarizing interview, but the Tony Robbins one she just had and this one, because at the end of that one, Tony Robbins says, women, they are so coddling of each other, they support each other too much that they can't grow. And Rachel goes, yeah, right, totally right. And this one, he's saying women just tear each other down. They never support each other. They just rip each other's hearts out violently. And she's like, yes, totally. It's like, well, okay, it can't be both. Which one is
And
it?
may I just also point out how he's like, men don't do that. Are you freaking kidding me? The men that I know criticize each other like just like in a jokey way, but they say the most cruel shit to each other. I've never seen women be as cruel as the men. Like they never. That's why people have now started to come out and say that men struggle with this toxic masculinity thing, and they don't feel like they can cry or they can be vulnerable with their male friends because they will get ripped to shreds by their criticisms and
Man
their
up.
jokes and everything. Yeah, man up and all that stuff. That didn't come from us, from women. That's he's like, men don't. We just were lovely. Like, why you don't?
Yeah, we're
Are
perfect.
you?
We're
Are
perfect
you?
in all
Because
ways.
like
It's just
my
women.
experience, it's the exact opposite.
Well, I think this guy had to get in his licks because his wife and Rachel just basically said, no one was mad at Dave. No one was mad at Dave. You know, he gets scot-free. He's like, well, men also have struggles too. You know, like, or we're better than women in this way. Like, I think he had to get in his 2 cents to feel
Dave was
equal.
not. You made a great point. That Dave was not quite a public figure up until recently, and then even that lasted for very short. So
Yeah.
it makes sense that people responded to her like. Yes,
He was
it
the
was bad.
sidekick.
It was negative, but he was
yeah.
only invited to those conferences. He was not the public person. She was.
Yeah, she brought him into the spotlight, not the other way around, and they didn't
she
enter
just-
it equally.
Yeah, she loves it when she can build an audience and be positive and all that stuff. But when she has to take it suddenly, why can't Dave take it? It's like, did you give some of that positive to Dave first? Because I don't think you did.
No, I don't think so.
Wild was like, it felt like dogpiling. It felt like people kicking you when you were at your lowest, when I was at one of my lowest points in my life. And the crazy thing was nobody knew the truth, and still people don't know the truth. And they don't know the truth because I want to protect my children. And so
meaning like from my experience, meaning like you would think that because so many women have experienced, men and women have experienced divorce,
Right.
that it would be a time when women would want to support you,
Right.
right? But it was almost the opposite.
I also don't think that anyone's owed the truth. The
Right.
truth is your truth.
Right.
And if Michael and I were to get divorced and I'm an oversharer, I don't know. I mean, I didn't want to tell people about my pregnancy for a
Right.
while. It's you have to have a shred of fucking privacy.
Right. And the other thing was I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to make it this public thing. And it was this really warped situation. I had written a book and the book was coming out. And the book was about living through hard things. And it was like, oh, you have to say that you got divorced. You have to say it because you're living through a hard thing. This book's coming out. And so I wrote the opening of that book. I say like, I'm in the middle of a divorce as I'm doing the edits for this book. And it was one of the hardest things. And that's the reference to divorce in the book. And then every single person said, you wrote a book about your divorce. And not only did you write a book about your divorce, but you tried to monetize your divorce. And
So you had already been
Done.
The book had
It was
already been
done.
done. And just, I will say this, you do write, for me always, I write the beginning and the end last. So like
Yes,
the
yes.
intro is the last
Yes,
thing I wrote
100%.
of the book. So it's not like you preemptively knew this was happening,
Right.
wrote a book to capitalize on it.
I was writing about COVID. I was writing about that we were all living through this really hard thing and thought I could be helpful and sort of offer advice for that. So it just was this dog pile of grossness, and I wasn't talking and he was. So he talked a lot and I was silent. And I think that when someone's silent, people assume, oh, you're the one who did something wrong. And
You are.
no comment. But and still, I don't. This is the most that I say about it. Is just that I won't talk about what happened, and I believe that karma will take care of everyone who needs to be taken care of. So that's that.
I just got a little scared when you said that.
It's
You
true.
don't want to
Karma's
divorce me
real.
publicly
Can we
because
pause
you
for
never
a
know what I'll
sec?
do.
Right.
I am so sorry.
No.
But okay, I don't even know where to, like where to start. You were wrong, Rach. You were wrong. We have discussed it at length. But also, what I want to say is like, I think I had, if I'm not mistaken, a thumbnail that said monetizing her divorce or something like that. So, how does Rachel know so much if she doesn't watch? Like, I'm just so curious. Like, how does
know.
she?
She knows all the critiques.
Informed. Yeah, she knows
Yeah.
everything, but somehow doesn't know anything.
It's selective, and when Consciously Kayla said the same thing. She said, like, just 10 seconds ago, 10 breaths ago, Dave and I were so open about our marriage. We talked about for 5 years the thing that ultimately became the reason why we got divorced. We were open about it. Okay, I'm confused. I'm like, I have no idea what that thing is. Now she's saying the thing that caused us to divorce, I'll never tell because of my children. It's like, which one is it? And they don't ask a follow-up. That's the problem. It's like, you just hear this stuff. She completely contradicts herself in 1 minute. And then there's no follow-up. No one asks, like, wait, what do you mean? What was the thing? Like, tell me about that. It's just like, oh, it must have been hard to have a divorce and be canceled, huh? It's like, that's not, okay, ask a better question. I can't keep up.
So
It's like,
true. Well, the thing is, I feel like I don't know if this is necessarily why they didn't ask the question, but I have been in conversations like this where somebody's going, and for example, Tony Robbins does this, where he's like speaking so fast and giving you 17 stories that you have no time to like think and like be like, okay, wait, I missed 1,000 million details. Like,
Yeah.
I need follow up on everything you just said.
yeah, like, okay, hold on. You just made 20 claims there that have not been made in the past. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, or maybe I don't think it's the case, but there's also, editing. Maybe stuff was taken out, or maybe stuff was discussed before or after the podcast where she
Maybe.
told them what Dave really did. But the thing,
What
if
could
it
it
is
be?
true, alcoholism, that's what it could be, if that's the thing, because that's the one thing that Dave has said. The only one really. What else do they discuss that I'm not aware of?
I don't know. But then
They
she's like,
discussed
it's a big
nothing. They were
secret. It's like,
perfect.
but how is that a secret then? If she's written a book about it, he wrote a book about it, like the alcoholism's out there. And he, so why would there be a secret to not tell because of the children? I don't get that part then.
I don't think it's like, I think she's trying to imply that it's alcoholism, but I don't think that's true. I think she's lying essentially.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure it out. I think he's gonna come out with it and say, look, this is everything I've done. Eventually, when he gets desperate enough, and she's gonna have to respond to it, and she's not gonna know what to say. That's my prediction. That he'll one day say, like, this is my tell-all, like my real tell-all, and
Like
he's gonna
one day, you mean like in 3 months with his
probably
new book or
yeah.
something?
I think that's what he's gearing up to do. That's my take. Maybe not. Maybe he's
Okay.
not that smart. I don't know, but
I
he
wonder
should.
well, it's not about the fact that he is smart or not. It depends on how angry he is with her.
Yeah. Well, she's if I was him, she's definitely not leaving much room for like understanding. So I think like he's probably getting angry as time goes on, because now he looks like a fool, and she gets
Yeah.
to just, now start to build her life back, and she's also insinuating that karma is going to take care of him, and that he's a deep dark secret holder, and that the children need to be protected from him. Like, that's pretty bad. Like, he's making him look real bad, and I don't think
Yeah.
he doesn't deserve it. I'm sure if he does, I'm not saying he's a great person with no flaws, but if it's not something bad, she's making it seem worse than it is. If it's not. So anyways, okay.
So true.
No, but I think like, again, this is, listen, I can see how this is, people are going to listen to this and they're going to say, okay, well, if you have a platform, you have a responsibility, but I would put that responsibility back on anyone who's participating on any platforms to also say you have a responsibility to be a decent human, right?
Right.
And someone's going through a divorce or they're going through something tough in life. I don't want to look back on my life and have any kind of record of me trying to further harm someone, right?
Right.
Like, I think a lot of, like you say, karma, like there's a lot of people that are going to have to look back and reconcile, like, yeah, that person was shitty, but did I also need to stoop to that level or
Right.
worse, right?
Right.
And like, I think
Right.
people get mad because we talk about cancel culture. It's not cancel culture that I care so much about. It's about people being shitty people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like, you can
Okay,
fuck up publicly
really?
or make mistakes, but I feel like that's the time when society should wrap their arms around people and say, okay, this is not okay. This is a fuck up. Let us help you get back up to a
Right.
place where, we can all move forward.
I also think Stassi Schroeder on Vanderpump Rules. Do you watch that show? She went through something similar that you went through, and they kicked her off the show. And I always say that I would have liked for her to stay on the show, for her to show how, like, the process of what it looks like after going through something like that, to maybe inspire, or I don't know, maybe help someone else out there
Right.
who's going through it. Like to just axe her off the show, we didn't get to see.
Yeah, there's
Do
no
you know what I'm
evolution.
saying? Yeah.
100%. And I think what I hope for the fans who have been with me for a very long time, I think that if you talk to any of them, they would say that the person I am or the content that I create today feels very different than it did a year ago or 2 years ago or 10 years ago, because what you are watching is my evolution as a human. So you're watching something change and grow and me evolve, and we'll continue to do that. But you can't see that, and people can't learn if they're not allowed to be human and allowed to do the process and do the work and grow in front of you. Because it's sort of like, oh, let's, get rid of this person, kick them off the world. You're never actually going to know what it looks like. And I feel like it's really important for me to talk about it and just, like, hey, we're chatting about this thing that happened, because I want to see specifically for other people who hold privilege to see what it looks like to mess up, to say you're sorry, and to take the fear out of admitting that you did something wrong and talking about how you learned. Because honestly, I don't think a lot of people even get this is a privilege. To be able to sit with you guys and talk about this and have people hear the story, that's a privilege in itself, because there's a lot of people who will never get the chance to show the work.
Okay.
And I think I looked it up, and I'm not 100% sure about this story, so I'm pulling a Rachel Hollis here and just going to tell it anyways. The Stassi Schroeder thing, I believe she was called out for being racist and like calling the police on one of her fellow co-stars on the Desperate Housewives, and like said some stuff that was like overtly racist. So the fact that Lauryn wants to have her on the show, you get probably hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, with, the extra stuff that comes with being on a show like that. That is a reward. Why would you want to reward someone that has that type of attitude and behavior with success? And even if they have to go on the show and be on the reality show, it's like, allow people who aren't as disgusting human beings to like have that opportunity to be featured in that way. That's what I think. I think it's a weird take from her to want her on the show still.
Yeah, platforming problematic people.
Yeah.
And in order to be, I don't know, edgy or something. But he said just there that, we want people not to be shitty people and stuff, and referring obviously to the audience and us, because how dare we dogpile so bad. But he's really like having in front of him a person who actually is problematic and has done some stuff. And he's not like, if that's what you want, Matthew, like, here's Rachel, like, can you deal with her and see what happens? If you really are so, big balls, I want to hold people accountable.
Yeah. No, this has become the Disney Channel, this podcast. The Disney Channel to support Rachel, rally around her and lift her up. Okay, we're almost at the end, I promise. We're like right there.
Best for this little girl. We found this little kit called Rainbow. They get thrown away. 3% off your first. So what would you say to the Rachel who posted that video? What would the Rachel now say to her? What's that evolution look like? How have you changed?
I know this sounds like BS, but I wouldn't take it back.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take the experience back.
Somebody just mentioned some kind of, was it Harvard or Stanford
Yeah,
study?
that's interesting that she just said
we
that.
just heard this. Somebody said that people that go through hardships in life, the professor, I'm going to, what's the term you use?
Naomi
about that?
said it from Southern Charm.
But what's the term you use about that?
loose tea.
Loose tea. Yeah, this is loose tea. But basically the gist of it was, they said, go up there and write all the hardest thing you've ever gone through in your life and put it on the whiteboard and say, okay, now that it's up there, say you can go up there and erase it. But if you erase it, you take away all of the lessons you've learned, all the experience from there. Would you erase it? And they said not one person in the class
Right.
actually went and erased that. Right?
Right.
It's like, these are the types of things that make us who we are and make us hopefully better.
Right. I think too, it really severed whatever emotional connection I had with a social media brand, like with my brand on social media, because I had come up in that world. That's how I built my business. That's how I did all of these things. And so there was this, I know anybody who has a platform on social is going to understand this idea that you feel beholden to the device. I got to post this. I got to talk about it. And when you have a company and there's employees and we really need you to, post more because we have this launch coming up. And that, it was such a severing for me of that mattering. And honestly, like, you know how many people, and I mean like friends who are celebrities who hate social media with a passion and have to show up every day because 50 million fans or 30 million fans or 1 million fans or 500,000 or 3,000. But their business is built on that and people are counting on them. So they keep showing up even though it's toxic. And one of the things that came out of that for me, besides the learning, was this is not this platform isn't my life. This is not real life. My real life is what happens when I go home tonight and make dinner for the kids. That's my real life. And my real life is really good. But you don't really see it on social anymore, because I don't ever want to get it twisted again that like, if it looks good on social, then it is good in real life. And that's not the reality.
When it comes to your work,
Okay, just a quick note on that. I think it's pretty disturbing that she's like, I would do it all over again. It's like, so your personal growth is worth more than offending like millions, perhaps, of people. That's pretty condescending.
And it's very, very much bullshit too.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, when they're talking about all these struggles and how you can learn from, difficult things that you go through in life, and you do. I 100% believe in that.
Sure.
And I think, but that's different than, like there is one thing to learn from something and move on and just like use that life lesson, somehow. But for what happened here, the cancellation was like completely unnecessary. Like this is not something that it was a life lesson that was needed. And if there was a life lesson that she needed to learn, she didn't learn it because she didn't get it. She says she doesn't get it. So if
Still.
it was necessary, then the job is not finished. And if it was unnecessary, and then you come back to social media, you continue to do social media, then what exactly is the big, like, it's just like a little blurb
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah.
It's just something that happened, took down her views. Like there is no, she didn't
Change her
really
content, really, other than now she's less Christian, more spiritual. That's the only change I've seen.
Maybe it's a mental thing. Maybe from not caring about her audience, she now cares about the audience or something. She understands the power of the audience or something.
Maybe.
The problem is I don't see this yet. Like maybe, but I don't see her really understand the impact. Just how she said in the beginning, I had no idea about impact versus influence. Yeah. I mean, you should have known, but you clearly don't still. Like,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's more, if you now appreciate the audience, and if you now suddenly understand, okay, I am vulnerable as an influencer, I do depend on my audience to like me, and just I need to, it's not just me pushing out content and that's it. It's a relationship we have here. If you understand that, then you don't gaslight us with this podcast and just like deflect and make it sound like you didn't know you're so small and stupid. At the same time, you're just so smart and wise. Like,
I agree.
pick one. Like,
I agree.
so
I know.
it's bullshit that this meant something to her. It meant something negative. It meant something stressful. She lost money, most probably. She lost views. She lost fame that she had built, and she lost a lot of things. But I don't think, in the grand scheme of things, like it's not like those life lessons where you really just reassess and look at life in a different way. She's not looking at things in a different way. She's still deflecting.
Yeah, I agree. I think her big lesson is, I know, sorry, I gotta go soon, so we gotta wrap soonish. My fiance's like, hello. Yeah, no, I agree. I think I second everything you said.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're good. The last part I think is important to watch though, or listen to, because it's the most wacky thing and so unrelatable thing that it needs to be a part of this stream. Who she wishes, so she didn't answer the question that she was asked this last time, like what would you tell your past self? She's like, I would do it all over again. It's like, okay, that's not what she asked, but okay. And then this part is who she wants to be instead of Rachel. She wants to be like this person, which I think is so wacky.
And your children now, how has that changed in the last year? I'm sure there's changes in both.
Totally. I really am focused on the podcast, and I'm focused on writing. That's what I do now. I'm not really in the space where I want to do a conference anytime soon. I feel like I've sort of carried that weight for a very long time, and it's an incredible experience and it is an honor, but it's just so much. But I'm just focusing on creating things. And what it looks like right now is I work from home like most of us do. And I write and I record podcasts mostly by myself unless I'm doing something like this. And it's pretty dreamy because respectfully, I still make a significant amount of money, but I do it from home and I do it in a few hours every week as opposed to 60 hours a week on the road. So life is really good, but it is, I have 4 kids, so it's also chaos.
I think my main goal in life, and I've realized this as I've gotten older, is to protect my peace.
Yes.
And it sounds like that's what you're doing. It's like money or success or social media or followers. Like what I've learned through this whole COVID experience is like, if I don't have my peace and my sanctuary, I can't show up.
Yes.
Like 100%. I can't do it 100%.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm hearing from you too.
No, I keep sort of refining. It's kind of like sifting out and what doesn't matter. And that was a beautiful part. I know it sounds silly, but that was a beautiful part about lockdown and COVID was suddenly all these things that had mattered so much were taken away from us. And you really have to ask, what is the most important? And like I'm surrounded, I have a lot of friends who are really successful entrepreneurs and I love them so much. And we had very aligned values for a really long time of like, how much can we make? And what was the revenue this year? And what did we grow? And what brands are we working with? And I know I sound like such a hippie, but I'm not in that. I really believe if I focus in on what I'm creating, then the success will follow because I'm focused on creating good shit that people will like, as opposed to, I'm going to make, who my dream is? You know who I want to be? Jon Favreau. Do you know who Jon Favreau is?
Of course.
Fucking killing it. Like
The director, right?
Actor,
Star Wars
producer,
stuff, yeah.
writing, like behind the scenes. Like Jon Favreau started as an actor. He was in a movie called Swingers in like the early 2000s. Classic, so good. And he wrote that and then starred in it. And so he had a little bit of fame. And so he was an actor in different things and then ended up either writing or directing Iron Man.
That, and also he's just did The Mandalorian.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Star
he's
Wars,
done it since then. He just keeps... He's not going, he doesn't have social, or if he does, he's not doing anything. He doesn't have fame. He does, like, if you saw him, you'd be like, holy shit, that's Jon Favreau. But he's just quietly making really cool shit, directing Lion King, killing it. And that's a dream. Like I used to, when I was younger, I thought I wanted fame. I thought I wanted to be recognized in the airport. And I just want to be able to make some stuff and do it with people who are cool and go home and make dinner for my kids.
Rachel.
That's it. That's the last thing
Yeah.
she says.
Well, I don't know how she can compare herself to an actor and director.
I want to be like this majorly famous man who is making millions and trillions of dollars doing, entertainment business things.
But I don't want to be famous.
But I don't want to be famous. I just
Sure,
want to do
okay.
it behind the scenes, like Jon Favreau, who's very much a recognized figure. And he has like triple the amount of followers that she has on Instagram. So it's like, yeah, you want to downgrade to Jon Favreau? You need to upgrade.
From who did she downgrade? From Barack
Yeah.
Obama? I don't know.
Yeah, she's like, I want to be like, just like much more calm and unrelatable.
a
as Jon
modest,
Favreau.
a
Yeah,
modest
like-
actor.
Yeah,
Modest
just like
little
someone,
actor.
who's not that important, that just like doesn't really need to show up that much. Like, like Kim Kardashian, like someone that just has more peace in their life. It's like, oh my God, you're insane.
You
All
have
right.
no idea what acting is.
I know.
obviously.
It's like, you're nuts. But yeah, whatever. She's going to be doing some sort of musicals or something now. She's like, because they asked like at the end, they're like, so what's next for you? She's like, I don't know. You'll have to find out. Something different. So we'll have to stay
Well,
tuned.
Boo is a
and-
musician, right? Or,
Yeah. He's a tour manager. So I'm assuming he's got a musical background.
oh, okay. So yeah, she needs to get into that world now.
Yeah. Can't wait for that. But I got to go. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry to wrap.
No worries. We've been going
After
on like 4
3.5
hours.
hours. I know. But I appreciate everyone coming and commenting and sticking with us
Yeah,
through this
thank you, guys.
two-parter.
Thanks, guys, for being here. We really appreciate it. And
Yes.
have a lovely Sunday, rest of your Sunday.
Yes. We'll be back Thursday.